Good evening. Today is Thursday, September 4th, 2025. It is now 6:05 p.m., and this is a special City Commission meeting of the City of West Miami. This meeting is called to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Okay, Mayor Eric Diaz-Padrón,
Here.
Vice Mayor Ivan Chavez,
Here.
Commissioner Gustavo Ceballos, Commissioner Juan Blanes.
Present.
Commissioner Luciano Suarez.
Yes.
Mayor, you have a full quorum.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Special agenda items. Item 3A, continued from August 27, 2025 Commission meeting. First reading, public hearing ordinance on comprehensive plan amendment. Applicant Sunnyside West Miami LLC, property address 6020 and 6024 Southwest 8th Street, West Miami, Florida 33144. Ordinance of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of West Miami amending the City of West Miami Comprehensive Development Master Plan to establish the corridor residential land use designation and corresponding regulations, and amending the future land use designation for those properties located at 6020 Southwest 8th Street and 6024 Southwest 8th Street and designated commercial mixed use, high density, commercial parking, and moderate density to the corridor residential designation, providing for conflict correction, providing for severability, providing for transmittal, and providing for effective date.
And Mr. Attorney, how should we proceed with these items, because they're all connected? Should they be taken together?
Well, it is true that when they speak, they'll be speaking to all items, so you could read the second and third item as well, and then the
Yeah,
applicant.
let's do that, because
since it's
they're
an
all
applicant
completely
matter,
tied together. There's
We'll
no
have the
difference.
applicant speak.
Yeah, yeah, just read all the items and we'll get into all of them.
Okay, item 3B, continued from August 27, 2025 Commission meeting, first reading, public hearing, ordinance on rezoning request. Applicant Sunnyside West Miami LLC, property address 6020 and 6024 Southwest 8th Street, West Miami, Florida 33144, an ordinance of the City of West Miami, Florida, creating Section 3.2 entitled CR, Corridor Residential District of City of West Miami zoning ordinance 282 as amended, adopting a new zoning map to depict the CR district designation, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. Then item 3C, continued from August 27, 2025 Commission meeting, public hearing, special use permit 2025-001, applicant Sunnyside West Miami LLC, property address 6020 and 6024 Southwest 8th Street, West Miami, Florida 33144. The applicant is requesting for plan development order pursuant to Section 2A and Section 2B of the City of West Miami Land Development Code, Ordinance 282 as amended, where the property is zoned corridor residential, to permit a unified residential development consisting of 575 residential units, 13,790 square feet of ground floor commercial space, mainly along the Southwest 8th Street corridor, a transitional three-story, 36-unit multifamily building, and 29,000 square feet of public open space at the rear property. And then item 3D, continued from August 27, 2025 Commission meeting, a resolution of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of West Miami, Florida, granting a special use permit index number 2025-001 to the Sunnyside West Miami project for property located at 6020 and 6024 Southwest 8th Street, West Miami, Florida, under the terms and conditions set forth in the application and supporting documents, providing for effective date.
Okay, items A, B, and C are public hearing items. Public hearing is now open, and at this time, it would be appropriate for the applicant to step forward, correct?
I would think the applicant could go first,
Yes.
since they are an applicant.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. George Navarro with offices at 333 Southeast 2nd Avenue. I'm joined this evening by my colleague Devin Vickers, by my clients Jose Antonio Vizcarrondo and Juan Maroso, and also by our project architect Robert Behar. We're very excited to be here this evening. This is a project that really has been a long time coming, and I think as you will see tonight, it's a project that has really evolved over the last several months, and we're excited to show you where we are this evening with the recent changes that we've made. since the time this application was first submitted. For those of you that are not familiar with my clients, they own a family-operated business. They're very experienced in creating residential communities in South Florida. They've been very successful in the city of Miami, most recently Coral Gables, and they're very excited to start on this new chapter here in West Miami. You know, what I think distinguishes these clients from my other clients is their long-term approach. They really hold on to their properties for generations, and all of their projects are really thoughtful investments in the community that are designed to be long-term assets. And that is really what we're trying to create here this evening. What we're proposing is not just a project, it's a vision for a community and a lifestyle within the neighborhood. I'm sure everyone knows the Sunnyside Trailer Park and Motel along Southwest 8th Street and Southwest 67th Avenue. It's a site that really has been underutilized for decades, in need of reinvestment. And it's a site that your comprehensive plan actually calls for reactivation. It's over a decade, the city comprehensive plan has been designed to promote redevelopment of this property. And what we are going to show you this evening is not just a typical, mixed-use project or something that you have seen in the past. It's a completely different vision that we hope sets a new standard for development in West Miami. This project's not just going to enhance the aesthetics of the area, but it's also going to generate much-needed ad valorem taxes for the city. This project, when completed, will generate $1 million in ad valorem tax revenue that the city could use to fund service improvements and community needs. That is 13 times the amount of ad valorem taxes that this property currently generates today. And obviously, this site has a long code enforcement history, which we've heard a lot about. This project will help correct those issues and really develop the site with what we see to be a community-focused, centered project. So this is a rendering of the project. It's basically a mixed-use community with 608 high-quality residences. It has ground floor restaurants and cafes integrated throughout. And we have designed this project to create inviting public plazas and green spaces, not just for the use of the future tenants of this project, but also for the residents of the abutting area. This includes a 30,000 square foot, 28,000 approximately 30,000 square foot public park that will be developed by the developer and accessible for the community to use. And I think our project architect will go into this some more, but this park is going to include a dog park. It's going to have outdoor recreational space for kids. It's going to have a rubberized multi-purpose track that people could use to exercise and jog and walk and really integrate this project into the neighborhood. And I think you'll see that is a big theme of this evening. So in order to create this, and I think, Devin, if you could go back a few slides, to make this project possible, what we've done is we just didn't apply the old mixed-use code. We wanted to create something truly special, and what we did is create a custom-tailored set of regulations entitled the Corridor Residential District, and this is an alternative to traditional mixed-use development. What this new zoning does is it allows for less density, requires more open space to be provided, provides for greater setbacks, and it really helps us deliver these community benefits that I'm going to go through this evening. Can we show the compatibility slide? The one that has the park and the tiered system. So this is just some of the stuff that we've done using this code. What we've done is we're able to reduce building massing. That is one of the really important things that we focused on. What does that do? So it allows us to create tiered building heights as you step towards the residential, and Robert will get into this further, but it's a concept that we're able to achieve by creating these additional setbacks from the single family. And by creating a smaller building footprint, we're able to create very dense landscape buffers along all of the property boundaries, and we're able to free up a significant amount of public open space. You can see it to the far left. We have a large park that abuts the residential homes, creates a huge transition moving into a 3-story building, and then Robert will show you the tiered heights of the multifamily building as you move forward. There's also, I'm just gonna go up and point to it for a second. So within that area, my apologies, within that area, we have a large outdoor recreational area that's going to face a cafe that will be open to the community. It's walkable through the main streets. We're creating a series of sidewalks, but that's going to be an activated restaurant with an outdoor open space. All of these commitments we've put into a covenant to ensure that these open spaces remain open to the public. One item that came up at the Planning and Zoning Board meeting was that some of the residents wanted to ensure this park space would not be open past daylight hours, right, for noise and other concerns. So we, as part of our covenant, have also committed to have the gates locked at sundown. So I wanted to make sure I put that out there. So since the time of our last Planning and Zoning Board meeting, we have done several things. We've been working with your administration. We've taken the feedback that was provided by the residents and your Planning and Zoning Board. I know this commission has also given us direction to focus on maximizing the amount of restaurant space, which is very important to the community, and increasing parking. We obviously felt very comfortable with our parking, but we understand the need for it, and we've worked in order to increase today our parking ratio to 1.6 parking spaces per unit to serve the project. As part of this parking plan, we've also committed to provide 25 spaces for the use of City Hall. We understand it's a big need. Even this evening when I was coming, we understand parking is a need that the city has, and we're happy to be a good community partner and be able to provide 25 designated spaces within the site for use for visitors of City Hall. One important thing that was discussed at length at the last Planning and Zoning Board meeting, and that your administration has given us direction in things the city wanted to see, we have added an additional 5,000 square feet of restaurant space. So we have a new restaurant proposed, which increases the total square footage from 13,000 square feet to 18,000 square feet, which is much more than any other project you have seen provide in the past. So with this, I will have our project architect, Robert Behar, come up, walk you through the plans, and then I'd like to quickly just touch on some of our outreach efforts. And with that, we'll conclude and take public comment. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. For the record, Robert Behar, Behar Fund and Partners, 4533 Ponce de Leon. And I'm going to let Guillermo set up the presentation. I mean, after George basically took over all my presentation, I don't know what else to give you. But it's
Everybody give
okay.
us something?
I love him. Let's go to the ground floor, Guille, so we could start with that. And George alluded to it. What we've done is we try to condense the massing of the project towards the center of the property to allow more separation from the adjacent residential areas. At least, in the back. In addition to that, you're going to see that in the back of the property, abutting the residential, what we've done is going from the park, a 3-story building, and then we've done is scale back the project, which is a 5, 6, 7 stories. So it's a transition as you go to the residential. Go to the ground floor, Guillermo. In the ground floor, you're going to see on the right-hand side where you have the 2 retail components that are facing A Street. We wanted to make sure that we activated properly A Street. And what you see from the street is habitable spaces and active uses. What we did since the last meeting, we added additional parking for the convenience of those retail right behind it. So if you came into the property, you could park in between the residential unit and the commercial and the retail area. So it's not like we're gonna facilitate the parking for the customers coming in. Then you have a building where you have the ground floor. You're gonna see that on the bottom. Let me see the mouse. You're gonna see on the bottom, we created the drop-off. So there, we're gonna, in both buildings, I'm gonna show you the building in the back in a second. This is gonna be dedicated for all the rideshare, cars, Uber, Lyft, and everything to be a designated area. So you're not parking in the middle of the street. We're gonna bring that into the site. This is gonna be the first building, which, it's gonna be a 9-story building, correct? 9-story building. In the middle, we're locating the parking, and then the building in the back that has that goes back from scales it back as I described earlier. Now, as you go through, you're gonna see perimeter parking, and this shows that you have a large separation between the property line to the face of the building, which is typically not required to be as large. So we wanted to make sure, like I stated, put the building, the massing in the front. Keep going. And then this is the rendering from A Street that you're gonna see that we pushed it back the retail 20 feet to create more of a buffer and an area for the patrons, if we're gonna have a restaurant, to be able to utilize it, sit, and really, make the most useful of that area. This is one in the back, a rendering, and you can see where, go back a second, here's where you start stepping the building. This is what you will see as an aerial, the 3-story behind a large buffer area, which is the park and heavily landscaped, and then the building is set back. The distance between the property line to this building where it starts is about 105 feet, right? 200 feet, I'm sorry, 200 feet. So you push the building way back. This is just the little retail cafe. It's not really a retail, it's like a little cafe internal in the site that is going to be open to the whole community, not only our residents, but the entire community. This is, what we also did is to minimize the impact, we put the pool, the amenities on top of the garage. So it's closer to the building, away from the residential houses. This is the entrance just to the park. Another shot of, another view of the park. And it's gonna be like a little passive park with the track, along the perimeter of the site. And this is some of the views. If you look at, where the angle, the one on the top, the residential, that's our property, where we're setting the first building, the 3-story building, and it's about 75 feet from the property line. And then from there to the residential building, as I stated, is 200 feet, and you can see where we're creating large terraces to step back the residential building. The same thing, if you're on the sides, even with a visibility triangle, you set the building away from the property line. And that's it, right? That's pretty much a presentation of the building.
So I just want to quickly touch, because a lot of these great ideas weren't our ideas and weren't Robert's, even though he was able to implement them, but it really came through a lot of outreach. My client, probably for the last 6 months, has been very hands-on in terms of outreach. He's gone door to door, met with many residents. We had a very well-attended town hall meeting last month. And as part of these efforts, we've been able to get a lot of good ideas, and we've incorporated these ideas into the plans that you see this evening. But in addition to working with area residents, we've worked with your city administration, specifically over the last several weeks, on the parking and the restaurant activation. And we are honored that as a result of these efforts, we've been able to obtain a positive staff recommendation. We believe this project that's proposed is a project that will make this community proud. It's really going to make a very positive impact in this area. You can see that, we hope this is the standard for new development moving forward in terms of neighborhood compatibility and actually providing public benefits as part of your project. And we know it's been a long time coming, and we hope we have your support to help turn this vision into a reality. So with that, I'll conclude my presentation, and our entire team is here to answer any questions.
Thank you. At this time, let's start hearing public comment, and then when we're wrapped up with that, we'll discuss from the board level. So do we have a speaker card to start? To be clear, you don't have to have filled out a speaker card to speak. It just makes the process easier, so you can just come up, but if you, do we have any speaker cards in already? So we'll just do it in order. If there's speaker cards in already, we'll just take those, and then if not, it's okay, you can just come up. But let's just take the ones that are ready there. Sorry?
Okay, so the first speaker we have is Otto Perez.
When you do speak, just say your name and address to the record, as that's what's required for us.
Otto Perez, 910 Southwest 62nd. I live across the street. Thank you to the mayor, commissioners, and all the city managers. I've been living in the city of West Miami now about 4 years, so very few people like myself have seen the impact that the city has done very positively. Just like I was telling Mayor Ivan Chavez the other day, like a tree fell in front of Sylvania and it got picked up in an hour. I thought that was amazing. When I used to live on the county side, right outside of the city of West Miami for the 4 years, if I had a tree fall, I probably wouldn't get picked up for days. So it's very cool to see the things that the city has done, and I think as citizens we're getting a little spoiled, and we expect obviously the best things for our citizens. I also want to say thank you to the developers. I know Jose himself met with me and voiced his concerns, but in the end of the day, I do know that they are business owners and we're still citizens and we have our concerns. My biggest concerns continues to be the new entrance being added by right here, I think it's 10th Street on the fire station. Like they just mentioned, adding 8,000 or 5,000 more square feet of retail, 1.6 parking spaces for residents. You're talking about nearly 1,000 cars that could be accessing that entrance daily. As a citizen that lives right across the street, how are we going to make sure that that doesn't become something that first affects our property values, but also our way of life? I am grateful that they're listening to the citizens, and I think it's definitely an improvement from what we have now. But that, to me, myself, continues to be an extreme big concern when you're going to have possibly that become the main entrance. I thought if I would live in that apartment building, that would be the main entrance that I would be using, because why would I come in through 8th Street when I can come down 62nd on Coral Way or 57 down 10th Street and just use that entrance? Other than that, I think it is a good project and it's going to be good for the community, but, there is certain things that are going to affect us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have others?
Next speaker, Ivan Chavez.
Can you all hear me?
Yes. Go
Everybody
ahead.
behind me can hear me? I'll blow your ears out. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice
Name and
Mayor,
address for the record, please. Name and address.
Commission. Ivan Chavez, 5911 Southwest 9th Terrace. Been a resident of West Miami for 35 years. Let me gather my thoughts here a little bit. Back then, seems like only yesterday, very sleepy little town. But we knew eventually the modern age would come knocking on our door. There was plenty of valuable property around West Miami, and then Publix came around. And I remember it like it was yesterday. First time that the building on 57th was proposed at Cooper Park. It was supposed to be condominiums. It was supposed to be a boon for the city, amenities for the city. Other than impact fees, no amenities, the developer wins. Residents didn't get anything in return. Then it happened again, 3 big buildings, taller buildings, over there on 67th Avenue. Same promises, restaurants, hotels, commercial. Those were subsequently rented out as apartments, and impact fees, residents no amenities, developers win, we get extra parking, people parking in our areas. And then yet again, on 64th Avenue over here, same story. Now, I realize you guys, for the most part, aren't culpable for what happened before you got here, right? Especially the city manager himself, brand new here. Unfortunately, you have to kind of deal with the PTSD of broken promises and nobody looking after the residents in the previous administrations. That's what I'm here to ask you. And this goes for the developer as well. I like what I see so far. I've spoken to some of these folks over here. They've come door to door several times. This is about like the 4th time we've gotten together. This is obviously a commission meeting, but we've had like 2 or 3 times before, and they answered all the questions. And I think that's a good move, moving forward, because obviously there's more spaces around, more properties around West Miami that at some point are going to be developed. We can't be blind and not understand that's going to happen. I'd rather not go through all this again, being distrustful of the developer and of my own city government. And what you guys are doing is going a long way towards that. You all have been answering a lot of questions. That goes a long way towards that. So this is a golden opportunity, honestly. Is it gonna be developed? Am I okay trading a trailer park for apparently beautiful development? Absolutely. You know, we all live here and it's good for all of us. But certain things have to be addressed. Obviously, the parking has to be addressed, which wasn't addressed before. That was just, here, have at it. Okay, the amenities have to be addressed. I think I'm done, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Anyway, do it right this time. Don't do us like the last administration did. Just, take care of your residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Next speaker, if I'm reading this correctly, forgive me, Linda Shapiro.
Shapiro. Hello.
Hi, my name is
You can
Linda
put the mic down
Shapiro.
if you want.
Oh, I'm sure. I live at 5971 Southwest 12th Street. Thank you for the opportunity of addressing the commission. I feel like my other neighbors, and I apologize for my dark glasses. I have a migraine, so I don't mean to be
You're-
disrespectful.
You looks good. You looks good.
Thank you so much.
So,
The developer mentioned that they own properties for generations, and I know that many of us in West Miami have owned these properties for generations, and we very much feel a sense of ownership of not only our particular properties, but of the entire city. We cherish the city of West Miami and what we've always found most desirable about it. I've referred to it often in a positive way as Mayberry in Miami, because it's always felt like a small town, and we know each other and we care about each other. However, I am concerned, as the other folks have said, with questions of privacy. How are we going to maintain our privacy when we have a 9-story building going up? I believe at the last meeting, it was said that it was going to be eight stories, and now I believe it's 9 stories. That's a change, and that's a negative change, if I'm correct in that. I don't mean to accuse anyone of anything. Another large concern has to do with traffic. The traffic in the area is going to increase greatly. People want to go to Publix. People want a shortcut to Red Road and every place that you can get to from Red Road. I live on 12th Street, and I know that the traffic is going to increase greatly. I know our mayor right now also lives on Red Road, and that is a very large concern. There are children, there are pets, there are plenty of people who walk, and.
Well, I live on your
and-
street. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
I'll make sure you get the time. I live on your street. I live on 12.
Yeah, 12th Street, yeah, so, in any case, the traffic is one of the major concerns. Also, it's been mentioned about parking. 1.6 spaces per unit seems, even though it's a 0.10% increase in parking spaces, that doesn't seem adequate at all, because we're going to have cafes, excellent, very good, but where are those folks going to park? And where are the guests of the people who own these or rent these properties going to park? If there are going to be social events upstairs at the pool, where,
Keep
okay.
going. Keep going. I cut you off.
Upstairs at the pool, where are those folks going to park? And it is a real concern that people will be parking on our property. And how are we going to handle that? And thank you very much for your attention. And I love West Miami, and I hope it stays the way we love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, next we have Patricia E. Perez.
Hello and good evening, and thank you for your service to our city. And I'm so glad to see so many of my neighbors here.
I'm gonna cut you off.
Patricia Perez, 5927 Southwest 12th Street.
Thank you.
I'm also near Linda and the mayor. So I wanted to, again, thank all of you for your service, my neighbors for being here and being concerned. Mr. Behar, thank you for reviewing the plan after the last meeting with the zoning board and moving back a little bit from the front and giving the indication that you've further moved more of a buffer. That is really good news to everybody that is going to be right up there abutting the property. That, I think that goes a long way. The concern that I have is the same one that Linda has and my other neighbors do. When 8th Street becomes so difficult to get through, people look to 12th and 11th to cut through. Those of you who live in that area know that happens. And I know the mayor has gone a long way to putting the speed bumps, and that's helpful for those streets that have speed bumps. Again, I think we're all working towards the same goal. My concern is also, I know that if we have, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, the amount of units is 620 from what I last knew. Has that changed?
608, no.
608. So it being 608, it's Miami. So you know that we can guess that at least 2 people are going to live in each apartment. So we're looking at having neighbors that are, it's going to be a lot more people. And then some of them will work from home, some of them might not work. Some of them will have to leave that apartment, say at 7 to be somewhere by 9 a.m. And all those cars trying to leave that complex, think about it, think about what that means on 8th Street at that time. And, whether there's been some sort of a study that, whether it's Dade County or maybe, I don't know, the state of Florida, somebody who can look at this plan that's being proposed, which, thank you for working with us, Mr. Behar, and the team that has bought the property, because we understand as fellow owners of properties, anybody who has moved to West Miami starts fixing up their property. We agree, they should fix up their property. And let's do it in a smart way with maybe a review of how this is going to impact traffic and parking. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Okay, next we have I.R. Riqueñez.
Oh, my new neighbors.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Isabel Riquenes. I live in 5910 Southwest 10th Street. And I just have a quick question to the architect. The pillars, the 2 pillars that I see on your diagram, can you go through that again? Because I live right there in 10th Street, and then you have the little park, right? Yes. So people are gonna be able to walk through 10th Street into the park?
Yes.
They are.
That's gonna, well, I mean, that's gonna be sort of a collaborative decision, right? Because the park, they are constructing and maintaining it, but we are still in control of the operations, right? So we can kind of decide that stuff from the city level.
Okay, so
It's still gonna
then-
be our park.
So it's gonna be those 2 pillars, and then we're gonna walk straight into the park, right?
Frankly, that hasn't truly been decided, because that's not them, that's ours, that's our park.
Oh, okay.
So it's, that's gonna go, remember, this is a process, right? I mean, this is like a couple years down the line, right? So that's gonna go to our Parks and Rec Board, and then that's a whole community meeting on its own for our street.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's not,
And that's correct, that's not been finalized, that's a placeholder, and we're gonna work together with the city and the residents to finalize a design for that park. So we don't have, that's just a placeholder, but the idea is to have the entrance to the park, which will be locked at sunset or whatever, the hours.
Oh, okay, and just used for emergency vehicles only.
Correct.
Am I correct? Okay, thank you so much. I love your project.
I'm
That's
not,
no
I
progress.
don't usually, we're gonna be talking to,
Thank
as,
you.
after we hear all the comments, but she's my new next door neighbor, so I have to, Okay, next speaker, please.
Okay, next we have Sophia Campbell.
Hello.
Hello.
Sophia Campbell, 6227 Southwest 14th Street. And I just want to say good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you for having us. My biggest concern, and I haven't heard it from any of the other residents, I'm on 14th. I'm not directly on 12th or 11th, who will have the biggest impact, but my concern would be medical emergencies, right? We're looking at what, 900 plus new residences, plus visitors, plus their children, et cetera, et cetera. We don't know how many people in particular are gonna be in each unit, right? Ballpark is, we're gonna have a massive, large population. Are we looking to increase police presence, fire rescue? Emergencies do happen. We're a relatively small city. We all know each other. We all know the police officers at one point or another. Just like I know, I've been in front of you guys several times throughout my 10 plus years here in the city. So that would be my biggest concern, right? Like, we have a lot of children, we have a lot of elderlies, we have a lot of everybody, and emergencies happen to anybody. Police presence and fire rescue. Do we foresee adding more to our police team and our fire team? Because I think that would be important, considering that we will have a massive migration of new folks in the city if this were to happen, which everything is very beautiful, but those are my biggest concerns.
Absolutely.
And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll address
Yeah.
that.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
That's all I have.
Okay, so that's all the speaker
Unless
person.
there's
Don't worry,
somebody
don't worry,
else.
you're good. So, yeah, I saw your hand already, so, yeah, you just come up. Everyone will get a chance to speak, just not, it's like boarding an airplane.
So I'm on like 12th Street, so I'm on 59,
Wait, you just, name and address for the
to?
record. Yeah, the name and address for the record,
5940
thank you.
Southwest 12th Street.
Okay, it's for her, not for me.
A
So
name?
I'm on 12th Street
What's your name, I'm
also.
sorry?
Christy.
Thank you. Okay,
So I live on the same 12th Street.
sure.
And, I'm all for obviously progress and design and upgrading, homes and stuff. I'm actually doing work on my house too, on 12th Street. So, first there was like the concern with the plan, and I don't think that I saw much of the plan. Like, I would understand it better, with commercial use and restaurants and retail. You've got loading, unloading, you've got delivery, you've got merch, you've got stuff that gets, brought, what's the access, where are the dumpsters, what are people throwing away? Like, when you have a mixed-use space, it's very different than just a fully residential building. So to me, that has a lot of concerns. And, and there's a lot of, and I don't know if there's like just the planning and like how that's gonna work. And I know that's just, the logistics of all of it. I think it's big, it's more than we think. And then there's the part of the residents, I don't understand why we can't keep that whole look with and feel with like townhomes and lower buildings. I'm not for 9 stories, 8 stories, 6 stories, even 7 stories. Even a mature tree is 15 feet. You could line the building with trees. Aesthetically, you're gonna see this big, huge concrete block from my house. And that to me is not pleasant at all, visually. I feel like, yes, but we have to find a middle ground. So I'm not for redeveloping. I prefer a building and residential units, because I know, I prefer townhomes, fine. But, something that's a midpoint, because I feel like you're just excessive. We're not in Brickell here, we're not in downtown. I work there, I see all these buildings all the time. That's not where we are. We're in a small community. It's kind of like the Gables, like Shelly Park, small and quaint. And I feel like that doesn't fit, I feel like it has to fit too with your surroundings. You can't sit there and put something, an object, a big building like this. You gotta think of everything as a whole. And when you look at everything in design, you look at everything, you see everything together. You don't, it's just like, it's there. And I'm gonna see it from my house. And I already see people cutting through with the speed bumps they've put in other, like, different, like, streets and side streets. I already see a lot of people cutting through 12th Street all the time.
Oh, these people on 12th
You know?
Street.
I'm trying to back out, and I get, like, my car, thank God, has sensors, but it's like sensor city, and I'm going. So, I don't know, there's just a lot of things that it's not just about the traffic, which is checkpoint, you know, and the use of the common spaces that we have in the neighborhood, but it's also like loading, unloading, you know, the critical points where people are gonna, you know, and parking. Everybody has 2 cars. Who doesn't have? If you're gonna live there in West Miami, you're gonna have, maybe the trailer park didn't have a car even, but we're having 2 cars per person normally. I mean, and then if you have kids that live there, I mean, my kid's gonna get a car now, you know, I mean, it's just normal. So I don't, between Ubers and ride shares and cars that you don't have spaces for, and people parking for restaurants, and I don't know. I think that just you have to see some of these things, you know, for what they are, especially the commercial aspect, you know, inner city. It's encroaching like really closely into our little neighborhood, and I don't know, I have a lot of concerns. And I think I need to just see the plan a little bit better, you know, maybe some of the access points, some of the loading points, and just all of that.
Oh, we're gonna dive all into it. We're not done diving into it, don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, I could volunteer, I can help too. I work in design, so does my husband. We're in architecture design, and we can help out too and look and
Beautiful.
see, I don't know. But I think that it's just, there's a lot of concerns I have.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. All right, no, we don't have, oh, no, I don't, okay, so, you and, which one do we want to go first? All right. You know the drill?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Louis Negrin. I live in 6132 Southwest 14th Street. Good evening, everyone. Pretty much my same concerns as with everyone. I believe we have the same mutual concerns. I lived here since I was 1 year old. My parents have been living here since 1987. Pretty much everyone's worries, we don't want to be overdeveloped, like neighboring neighborhoods, like we will say the Gables, maybe another example like Brickell or Miami Beach. We are not in comparison, at least to that size. But I feel like West Miami is a little bit of magic that's separated from those big residential buildings, from big high-rises and stuff like that. So pretty much I see the plan is not bad because I see the traditional 3-story, what is it, I believe condos? Apartments? Okay, those are not bad because that actually doesn't, I would say it doesn't over capacitate to our neighborhood as much. But pretty much in the future, everyone is just pretty much worried that overdevelopment, and we just want to keep West Miami, you know, a special kind of city that's kind of secret and hidden away from the rest of everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you.
Good evening, I'm Carmen Artemis, 6180 Southwest 10th Street. And I'm going to probably echo the same concerns that everybody has had. If you feel impacted on 11th Street and on 12th Street, I'm on 10th. That egress is gonna be on 10th Street. Would like for you to look for another solution to that. You have a very active fire station. You have the public works in and out. I invite you all to come in at 8 o'clock in the morning, on any given morning, and try to make just a right turn, not even a left turn, on 62nd Avenue. If any of you lived in that building, in that project, which I think is a wonderful project, I have nothing against it, would you choose to exit your building through 8th Street? Or would you take the easy way out and take 10th? Think about it. It's a big concern. I don't know if you've conferred with the fire department. How are they gonna get in and out if they have a call? It's a big, big safety issue. You have your police cars that park through there. You have public works, garbage trucks that go out in the morning. You have basically your daily business from the city. So please take that into consideration because it is a problem. It is a huge problem. And I'm concerned about the safety as well and a lot of other things. You're talking 6 parking spaces per unit, really? Your 80% of that is 480 units times 2 cars. Think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to disclose, I sent to the clerk, but I had an email exchange with the resident who just spoke, so it's for the record. Anyone else wishing to speak at this time? Go ahead. Absolutely.
Good evening. My name is Jenny. I am at 5981.
Last name, I'm sorry?
Oh, Garcia.
Okay,
Jenny Garcia. I'm at 5981 Southwest 10th Street. So I purchased my home 15 years ago, as a matter of fact, this month. It's been super quiet. I've seen.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you. What was the street, I'm sorry?
10th Street.
10th Street?
It's the house right in the corner where the entrance is gonna be.
On, like, directly across?
Directly right
Okay,
there.
beautiful. Thank you.
And I hadn't been able to come to any of the meetings, but I said I have to get there, and that's why I came today. I obviously have the same concerns as all my other fellow residents that were here today. So I asked if I'm gonna review more, and I would like to come to the office and see what else is really going on the project itself, since I'm right there. And see if you take into consideration on the traffic. On the 10, 11, 12, my son's already 15, but I have a stepson now at Sylvania. We walk over there every day. We walk him to school. That's gonna cause an issue of us doing that walk with him, which is quality time with children also. I love the idea of restaurants, but it's also really high. Even though it's 3 stories, 4 stories, 8 stories, it's still gonna be high. There's all those properties all on 10th Street. We're all right there. So I just asked to consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Go for it.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Paula Zuluaga. I live on 6470 Southwest 17th Street, kind of far from where this is going to be located, but I figured I'd speak on behalf of living in the community. I moved here in 2022. I feel like West Miami is a gem in comparison to Miami, all of Miami. And I think that, I obviously understand money makes the world go round. And bringing in 575 residential units is going to bring a lot of tax dollars and all of that great stuff. But I do think that there's more value in the lifestyle that West Miami has. I don't, I've lived in Kendall, I've lived in Kings Creek by Dalen Mall, and there's beauty in those small gems that you find in Miami. I think there's a lot of residents that live here. I don't know if that's a residential to buy or to rent. Is it a lease or is it to buy?
With they're currently apartments, they can choose to do them as condos later. We don't have any say in that.
So this is for lease?
These are for, yes, they're lease, yeah.
Sorry?
They're lease, yes.
For
Yes.
lease, yeah. So I think that that is another big concern for me. I think when people lease, they find less value in taking care of things, find less value in community events. It's kind of just a use and get out. I see it, I live closer to, what is that, 57th? 67th, where that big 2-story, 3-story is. I think it's a disaster. There's cops there every time. Firefighters there are always there. I have to cross that street, and it's, like I always said, there's always chaos going on over there. So again, I think the biggest concern for the people, and if I lived anywhere near this, I would be really upset, because I think 9 stories will be going into my privacy if I'm in my backyard and choose to be in a bathing suit. I don't know who's watching me, who's looking at me, and I don't know what the 200 feet, I think is not far enough for the residents that live close to that. Also, the Publix, the beauty that I like about the city is I go to Publix and it's just like calm, easy. I could breathe. I don't have to be stressed out. But when I go to Publix maybe on a Monday night or Sunday, it's jam-packed. And it's already a small community. So I cannot imagine 575 residential units, which I don't know what are they, 3 2s, 3 3s, 3 1s, 1 1s?
There's different unit counts. They'll go into it.
Different? Yeah, so if they even have 3 1s, you're talking about 3 cars, at least at a minimum. And you're looking for 1.6 parking spaces. I'm trying to rent a commercial space, and I mean, in Miami-Dade County, you need 1 parking spot per every 100 square feet. So I don't know how 1.6 would even get approved by any city overall. And I think there's beauty in West Miami if you keep it small. I obviously know money is important, but I think the residents of West Miami would love to keep it as a gem. I think there's more value in that, and I think, the properties have increased in value here. The community events, you can't have a community event for 575 plus residents, plus everybody who's already living. We wouldn't fit in Cooper City or in the new gym, the new, what do you call that? yeah, the new rec center, there's not even parking enough for in the rec center. So how would you accommodate those new residents into that rec center? And yeah, I also don't understand how we would go use the facilities over there with the parking space being 1.6 if it's already being taken by all the residents. And I live all the way on 17th Street. I drive across, where do I park my car? I love the idea of the new like restaurants and all of that. I think, West Miami could use a little bit more of that. But I think nine stories high is an exaggeration. And I think like everybody else said, if we wanted that as a community, we would be moving to Brickell, we would be moving to the Gables, we would be moving to any other place. But I think there's a reason why people choose West Miami. And I think there's a reason why it's now becoming hard to find places to live in West Miami. And I think there's a lot more value in that. Thank you.
You'll be happy to know the 6th, 7th Avenue buildings, which are a disaster. They just sold the two that are bigger disasters. Just sold to a new company, and they hired actually a very reputable management firm. So I'm
Okay.
kind of excited that's gonna
Hopefully.
reduce some of the issues.
Yeah, a lot of the
they're
issues
disaster.
do come from the management of the
it's
buildings
it's mostly
themselves.
management, to be honest with you, but it's a total disaster.
Yeah, which is something also to take into account if you guys do end up deciding to move forward with, a condominium slash, whatever it may be, is the type of management that goes there. Like I said, I come from Kings Creek and Dalen Mall, and I absolutely love management there, right? It's a one bedroom, only 2 people can live in it max. You can only have 2 cars max. If I was to have a child in a 1-1, I have to find another apartment. So things like that, even though they're strict, some people don't like it, but I think it maintains order and keeps us away from the chaos. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. You know the drill?
Hi, good evening. Liddy Castellanos, 6027 Southwest 16th Street. So I and my husband, like her, are a little bit far removed from this whole fiasco. But we are still living in the city, and we've been living in the city for about 9 years. I would say, to echo every literal thing she said, because she took most of my lines, even though we didn't talk to each other. I'm on 16th, and we have a big traffic issue already without these buildings. We all know 16th is a county road, so there's a lot of things you guys can't do. You can't put speed bumps. You can't do a lot. So this added traffic does concern me. And I don't have kids yet, but in the future, it will very much be a concern that my kids cannot play outside. I think an additional thing that I'm concerned about is this new beautiful building that we are all waiting for, which is the rec center, and what that's going to look like with more people. I think it's something to think about. Additionally, the amount of students that are currently at Sylvania, I was the crazy person that started the change.org for the parking thing on 16th, and that is very much still, Officer Alvarez, I don't know where he went, but is very much still something that the public safety and cops are still working on mitigating. It's like a forever work in progress, and adding more cars to that line every single day and more students does concern me. I think, like everybody else, we are not concerned about the ability of this architecture firm to put up a beautiful building. I don't live on 12th, so I feel like it's selfish for me to say this, but if I did live on 12th, I wouldn't want these people looking into my backyard because there are balconies overlooking my backyard. I know most of the people here live on 12th. Normally, most people on 16th and 17th wouldn't come here, but again, we're all concerned about losing this small town charm, losing really the reason why we all moved here to begin with, right? Like she said, if we wanted to live in Brickell, if we wanted to live on the beach, which is a nightmare, we would be living there. And I think it says a lot that, A, we have a tiny city, that we put trust in you guys, that we vote you in, and that ultimately, you're making these decisions on behalf of all the residents. And like you said, 67th is a disaster. I'm not personally very affected by it, but I do drive by there and I do see cops there all the time. I recently called about somebody parking in my front lawn, and every single cop was attending to some type of emergency that was undisclosed at that location. So what happens when that happens again, and I have an emergency at my house? Now all the task force is in one place. So again, thinking ahead, like Ivan Senior said, I think we have, it's a business. They want to make money. Obviously, it's beautiful, yes, but we need to think of the future. And once that next management takes over, like, what's that going to look like for us? So thank you for your time. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on, hold your horses. Is there any more speakers? Any more speakers on this? Going once. I'm gonna be slow on this. Going twice. All right, now you can get up.
Thank you.
All right, we have a lot to go over. So,
I know there's probably a lot of questions which we're happy to address. I just thought there was one important item, and I know that staff gave a very detailed presentation on this the first time, but I think what's important to keep in context is that today, under your comp plan, this site could be built with 667 units and 95 feet. There is less stories as you get towards the residential, but this site is already planned in your comp plan for significant development. What we're proposing is let's do this in a better way. That's what we've tried to do. The comp plan promotes the redevelopment of this property. It has the density, it has the height. What we started this process with was, okay, let's do this in a better building massing and one that actually creates these buffers. There's very mature trees in the area. Let's try to preserve those and try to create open space amenities. So it's really a repurposing of what could otherwise be done within an enhanced building envelope, and that's really what this application is about, trying to do something that differs from what was done in the past.
yeah. So I'm sure there's a whole lot of questions. I have questions from every single speaker. I do want to set up what the framework we're operating under here from our side. So obviously in 2005-ish, the city approved, and largely because it was not doing well financially, approved a rezoning on the whole corridors of 8th Street. I'm sure some of you have been in this room before, have heard this before from past developments. When that happened, the first application that came was the 57th Avenue building. Like someone mentioned, that I want to say it was Chavez Senior, that building had a lot of, it looked very different in the approval than it is now. That building had condos, it had two pools, it had retail, it had townhouses. The only thing that remained the same from that building was the kind of similar look on the facade. In about 2014, the developer bought that site. I don't know how in the hell it came back. It didn't come back to the commission, but there was a letter drafted by the then Public Works Director that said that they were substantially compliant with the application, and somehow that was let through without going to commissioner approval again, completely changed. Following that, the buildings on 67th Avenue came. There wasn't a lot of, honestly, discussion from residents at that point. I think they were poorly designed and, of course, poorly managed. And then following that, the 8th Street building, which did have a large resident presence at those meetings. I wasn't on the commission, but that was mostly stoked for political reasons from a county commissioner that lived next to the project and saying stuff that was to be affordable housing, which it wasn't. Actually, that building's very calm. But it would have been nicer if the county hadn't blocked the closing of a street in the middle. It would have been one unified project and would have been a lot nicer. But the point is, when that rezoning happened and changed it to 95 feet on the corridor, that limited the future city commissions from on what they could reject. You can negotiate a lot, but what you can reject gets limited, right? But there was still a lot of negotiation room to really put a tamper on development. At the time, when I was elected mayor, I've only had one development come before me. I actually voted no on it because of height. What's changed from 2022 to now is the state legislature. The state legislature, in an attempt to promote affordable housing in Naples, actually had to pass a law that affected the whole state of Florida, because that's how the state legislature works. You can't pass a law for just one location, you have to pass it for the whole state. What that law did is it took the ability of a developer to buy any property that's zoned mixed-use, commercial, or industrial, and basically say, if you can circumvent the city completely right? You don't have to go to the commission, you don't have to go to planning and zoning, you don't have to give the city impact fees, and a massive reduction in assessed value for property taxes. You don't have to do any of that, as long as you make your building 40% affordable workforce housing, which is not even that low of a price. It's 120% of the median income. So it's, what that allows you to do is it allows you in the municipality to take the highest height of any building that's been approved before. So in this case, it's 95 feet, and whatever the highest density in the city is. So density, the other developers maxed out to our allowable density. That's units per acre. And as long as you do that and you dedicate 40% of the units to affordable housing, you don't have to come before the city commission, right? So what I'm trying to explain, I'm trying to show what the headspace that we're all in. I am the most anti-development person in this room. I do not like development. I ran my campaign against development. I rather there not be development. I just bought a house right next to this project. I live next to this closest project. I just bought a house directly next to this project, right? So I'm very, very affected. I'm putting a lot of money into the house. It's my biggest investment. I'm sure all your homes are your biggest investments. So just to set the stage on why we are sort of in this negotiation with the developer, as opposed to telling him to go, fly a kite, this is the reason, right? We want to see mixed use on the property. We want to see restaurants on the property. We want to make sure that residents, like some people have said, don't have privacy concerns of people looking into their backyards. I don't want people looking into my backyard, and I've got a direct, what would be a direct sightline. All of these things are extremely important to me. There's other members of the commission that live even closer. I don't know if they want to disclose their addresses, but they live very, very close. Like directly behind. So I get it. I'm on the same page as all of you, and I have all the same concerns as all of you. So we're gonna get into all of this. We're gonna get into every concern. We're gonna, try to, if there's any changes that we need to make, we're gonna make them, here. But I do want, before we go into this whole list, I do think it's important that some of the conditions that we have put on the property are read, so we can have that as, there's been conditions that were in planning and zoning, but there's conditions that have been added after that are both covenants or conditions, meaning they can't continue operating their property unless they abide with these conditions, right? And just to be clear, someone has said this before, I believe you said it in the planning and zoning meeting, and I was actually, in full agreement with you. There's been a lot of promises from developers in the past on all these things they're going to do. On the 57th Avenue and the 67th Avenue buildings, they did these live-work units, which were going to be retail on the bottom. That was a joke. It was a ruse to get residential units. They give every promise, and I've heard there, almost none of it was actually ended up being true. So, I know Mr. Vizcarrondo, I know of Kate Capital, you guys run your family offices and you intend to keep the building forever. I don't care, honestly. Like, you have a good reputation in the community. I respect it. I don't really care anything that you say on the dais to us. The only thing I care is what is in writing and what is enforceable for the city to enforce on the building, which wasn't the case in past buildings, right? We have everything, and we're going to put whatever we need to put in writing covenants on the property, which means they run with the property, or as conditions to the special use permit, to make sure that we have full teeth and that nothing is just said. It has to be, whatever is said is done, right? So we're going to go into all of this, but let's start with some of the conditions. I want to read some of the conditions out.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Might I, sorry for interrupting, but there might be two procedural issues before you go into
I'll go for it.
consideration. One is, as you may know, the comprehensive plan might be a quasi-judicial proceeding. The zoning issue, their second issue, is likely a quasi-judicial proceeding, and the special use permit is certainly a quasi-judicial proceeding. So while each of you is permitted to have spoken to residents and to the applicant, if you did do so, you should take advantage of the state law and the city ordinance that indicates that you should say so. Now, It's not improper, but you say so, and if you got anything
Sure.
in writing, you give it to the
Yeah.
clerk. And you also indicate that your decision will be based upon this hearing, from the beginning and end of this hearing, and of course, the second hearing on second reading, rather than anything that you learned outside of the
Sure.
chamber meeting.
Thank you.
So, and I'm almost certain that it would be very unusual if you had not spoken with some people. So there's nothing wrong with saying you spoke to some folks, but you are to say so if you did.
Yeah,
That would
absolutely.
be the first thing.
Well, when we speak, just make your disclosures. I absolutely spoke to the applicant probably 100 times in the last couple weeks. Those conversations were not always super pleasant, but we're here. So let's go into the conditions. I want to, yes, you want to do this now?
I'm sorry, I meant to say there were two items. And then while it is not absolutely required, we should ask those who testified to be sworn in if they wish to do so, if they're willing to do so, to be sworn in.
It's procedure
if you
stuff.
testified.
Go for it.
Please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me.
Only if you spoke, only if you spoke. You don't all gotta swear, you know.
I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony I have given or will give is the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And if you wish, so help you God. Thank you. Now, I'm done.
All right, we done with the procedure? Can we get into the meat and bones of this? All right. Let's read out, whoever on staff wants to read out the conditions and covenants. I know it's 3 pages, but I think it's important that we read it out so we can have a conversation on it.
Okay, so the first condition is regarding dedications and vacations. The park at the rear of the property being designated as corridor residential shall be open for public use during operating hours for residents of West Miami and guests. The pedestrian access easements shall be provided for access to the park by the community. This park will be designed along with the proposed park along the vacated Southwest 60th Court to the extent such right-of-way is vacated and acquired by the city, and such design shall be approved by the City of West Miami Parks and Recreation Board and funded by the developer. Both areas shall be maintained by the developer. The rear building shall be built as part of Phase 1. If it is not built as part of Phase 1, then that area must be maintained as open space to include landscaping elements as approved by the Planning Department. Number 2, a formal agreement shall be required between the city and the applicant to allow the use of 25 on-site parking spaces during business hours for municipal purposes. For the site plan, number 3, the project shall have sufficient parking to result in a minimum parking ratio of 1.60 spaces per residential unit. Number 4, screening on the east and west sides of the parking garage shall have a green wall or art treatment approved by the City of West Miami Art Advisory Board. Such screening shall satisfy the project's art and public spaces requirement. Number 5, the rear and side boundaries of the property abutting or adjacent to existing single-family homes or an R1 district shall include an 8-foot concrete wall. The applicant shall obtain consent from the adjacent property owners for the construction of the 8-foot wall. Where such consent is not granted, a 6-foot wall will be required instead. Number 6, all landscaping shall be reviewed and approved by the City of West Miami Planning and Zoning Director. Number 7, the dog park and playground amenities will require City of West Miami Parks and Recreation Board approval. Funding is to be provided by the developer and shall be eligible for park impact fee credits. Number 8, a comprehensive on-site amenities package shall be provided. It shall be a minimum of 2.5% of the overall square footage of all buildings, excluding the parking garage and commercial areas. Number 9, a design truck shall be provided on plans, and a truck circulation plan shall be provided and have adequate signage. Number 10, the front north building shall be set back an additional 10 feet from Southwest 8th Street at ground level only. Number 11, the Southwest 10th Street west side entrance exit shall be open for ingress, egress only during peak hours, 6:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., and closed thereafter except for egress exits only. One exit on Southwest 8th Street shall include dedicated left and right turn lanes, 3 lanes total at the exit adjacent to 8th Street, subject to approval by the Florida Department of Transportation or appropriate governmental agencies. Number 12, there shall be a minimum 3-foot landscape setback between the buffer wall and running track. Number 13, the applicant shall incorporate an entrance feature along Southwest 8th Street, subject to the review and approval of the Planning Department. This design, scale, and materials of the feature shall be consistent with the overall architectural character. For uses, number 14, additional commercial space shall be incorporated into the project to activate the ground level and serve residents and visitors. A minimum square footage for commercial space shall be 17,500 square feet. The restaurant proposed for the rear building shall be a minimum of 4,500 square feet, inclusive of outdoor dining area, equipped with a grease trap and a full commercial exhaust duct system. No medical uses will be allowed. Number 15, there will be an allowable use for an active rooftop for a rooftop bar, restaurant, or active space, and that does not exceed the allowable commercial square footage permitted. The space shall only occur in the northern part of the building fronting 8th Street at the developer's sole option. Operational, number 16, at least one security guard will monitor and surveil the entire property. Camera monitoring shall occur 24 hours per day, 365 days per year, and the City of West Miami shall be granted permission to view security cameras in common areas of all buildings along with exterior cameras when requested by the police chief in writing. Number 17, the garage shall have a secure gate for residents-only access to be determined on location at the time of permit. Number 18, on-demand mobility and delivery lounge. The applicant shall provide designated, well-lit, and weather-protected waiting areas in both main buildings for on-demand mobility and delivery services, including ride-hailing, shared transportation, and app-based delivery providers such as Freebie, Uber, Lyft, and similar services. These spaces shall be clearly identified so that when users input the property's address for pickup delivery, they are directed and to the designated location within the development. Each space shall include seating, security camera coverage, and signage identifying it as the official pickup drop-off point. Drop-off areas shall provide enough bypass space for second delivery vehicle to pass by. For legal, number 19, a covenant running with the land shall be provided to include all approvals and approval conditions contained herein. Number 20, the development order is valid for a period of 2 years from the date of issuance of a final certificate of occupancy for Phase 1 of the project. Two-year extensions shall be provided if applied for by the developer in a timely manner and if all conditions have been met. Number 21, subletting of units will not be permitted, nor will short-term rentals be allowed. Number 22, applicant shall comply with all impact fees as per city ordinance at time of permit issuance.
You can just read that first paragraph if you want. Substantial compliance.
Okay, so substantial compliance, any modifications to the approved special use plan development, including the site plan and landscape plan, shall require a resubmission in accordance with the provisions of the special use permit requirements, unless the city planning director determines that the requested modification is minor, as delineated below.
And it's very tight. All right, that's a lot of boilerplate. All right, so now let's go into a bunch of the issues. I don't know if anyone wants to start taking on some of the issues they wrote down. And please disclose if you spoke to the applicant or not.
So like many residents that live around the development, I too live around the development, and the applicant did come around knocking on doors, and I was able to communicate with them. Thank you for, of course, coming and getting our input. Now with everything that's been heard from the residents, of course, there's questions that we want to ask you. The main one, I think, so far, that the one that I put a star next to is 10th Street, and why it is that that has to be opened up.
Sure. If you could pull up, if it's possible, put up the exhibit that we have. So one of the things that we did early on, so we have a series of current roads that front our property. We have 10th Street, 10th Terrace, and there is 12th Street, right? 10th Street as well, sorry, 10th Street. These are current roads that are in place today. There is a large pocket of single-family homes in this area, and one of the things that we did after we had our town hall meeting and we got feedback from a lot of residents that came was, could we close that street? And we went ahead and did that. That street, currently, I think the city is trying to vacate the right-of-way. They would need our right-of-way. We've committed to provide that right-of-way as well and not open this road. And if that happens, we're going to help the city build a linear park there. So this was one of our first commitments. The same thing with 10th Terrace. We heard some concerns on that street as well, and we moved to close that. The issue is that the county code requires all projects to have a secondary road for access. So we are unable to close all of these streets. We've closed as many as we can, right? They could be open today, but we've gone ahead and closed them. This is the street that remains open now. One of the things that we've done, and is a condition of approval that was proposed by staff and read into the record, is in order to try to meet the intent of the county code, which requires that it be open for egress, and that it has ingress and egress capabilities, is we've limited the hours that driveway is going to be open to peak hours. We think that will be acceptable to the county. We are obviously making every effort possible. As you can see, we have two entrance and exits on 8th Street. We are channeling all of our traffic away from the single family, but the county does require, as part of their traffic review, that we have one additional point of access, and this property has 3. So that one being adjacent to City Hall, next to fire station, we thought that was more appropriate to have than through the primarily residential street on 10th Terrace.
So just for clarification, the 2 exits off of 8th Street constitute 1 per the county?
Correct, because it's one road.
Okay.
So what happened, the reason for this is in Miami Gardens, probably 7 years ago, there was an accident that occurred, and this development only had one access point to one of the streets. They had 2 openings, but they had one street, and that street was closed, and nobody could get out in the event of an emergency. So the county amended their code, Chapter 28 of the code, under subdivisions, to require all subdivisions, which this will be, to have access points to 2 roads, unless you're landlocked, essentially, is the only exception. And that's how we get to this point where we can't basically close all of the streets that are next to our project.
So you keep saying something, and I just want to clarify something, because I know we've had a whole lot of discussions on 10th Street. And I know that I thank you guys for including this in the application. I know we've amended the 8th Street to allow for a left turn only lane, right? So that wouldn't back up it wouldn't encourage anyone to go to see 2nd Avenue.
Correct.
Because I'm waiting behind someone who's turning left from the property, right? So I appreciate you guys making that change from the planning and zoning till now. But you keep saying that the streets, that you're closing as many streets as possible. Are these streets technically open today?
Yes. So if we were to build the project without, any sort of public hearing process, and we went straight in through a live local or tried to develop the property under what's allowed today, there are right-of-way dedications that are required from our property because those are current city streets. So we could easily connect to any of those streets. What we're proposing in terms of, we're not closing it, but what we're doing is we're putting gates along those roads that are in existence today that basically only the fire department with a Knox access key can open. And it's basically in the event of an emergency, they could go through and get access. But they are closed for regular pedestrian vehicular traffic. Yeah, so this is part of the existing street network. If we were to build it, we'd be actually forced to connect these roads. It depends on how the configuration is, or connect to them internally. That would be Southwest 10th Street on the west, Southwest 10th Terrace on the west, and Southwest 10th Street on the west as well. So there's 3 existing roads.
Just to confirm, so the public park is only going to be accessible from 10th Street on the west side of the property between 6 and 9 in the morning and 5 and 7 p.m.?
No, so vehicular entrance through Southwest 10th Street is limited only through peak hours. The exact condition I'll read to you. So what we've done, I know that this was one of the comments from Carmen. No, that one's fully closed. It's the one on the east. Yeah, so this one is going to be fully closed. However, one of the things that we've done and staff has implemented, I think it's one of those protections that the city wants to ensure, we are going to have pedestrian access easements and pedestrian access points into the property at all times. That would be, accessible. The one thing that we've limited is on Southwest 10th Street on the west side, which is the one that the county requires to remain open. It's going to be open for ingress and egress only during peak hours, so between 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. and between 5 and 7:30 p.m. And it's going to be closed thereafter except for egress exits only, which is the minimum that the county will allow.
And is that also on the weekends?
Yes, because there's the peak hours.
So if I'm going to visit this park on any given day at noon, I have to come in through A Street?
Yes. Now, one of the things that we can do, and obviously traffic is a lot less on the weekends, the peak hours are really Monday through Friday. We could clarify that condition to ensure that on Saturdays and Sundays that restriction's not there. That would obviously facilitate everybody who's not going to be walking to the park to be able to drive there with their families.
Yeah, I mean, also, I'm just interject. I mean, we also have to think about what the intent of the park is, right? Because we have other parks, right? We have Accru Park, we have Garden Club Park, we have a bunch of parks. This is more of a, call it a pocket park, right? So does it really, and it's a question, right? Does it really matter whether, somebody far away, like, will residents drive to this park as opposed to driving to Cooper Park or whatever? Or is it just this vicinity of people who will likely, walk to the park,
Either way is fine. I just want to make sure that we, like, I believe Mr. Chavez pointed out, we've made promises before in the past. We can't sell this as a public park if none of the abutting neighbors can get into it.
Yeah, there's going to be pedestrian access. The way that I read this condition is during peak hours, so that is when the highest amount of trips out and is occurring, which is Monday through Friday. So Saturday, because we do have designated spaces, one of the things that the Planning and Zoning Board wanted to see was please designate spaces in front of the park area and close to it so people could use their vehicles. So this restriction is during peak hours, which is generally Monday through Friday in the morning when people are going to drop off their kids at school and go to work, and then in the evenings when they're coming back, but in all other hours during the week that exit will be
I'm okay
closed.
amending that too because of the retail as well, but I'll leave that up to the
I have no
board.
issue with retail coming in through A Street. It's just, I don't know. I'm not sure how realistic it is except for the immediate neighbors who can walk to it, to a resident that lives on 15th or on the other side on the
Even a
west side.
resident that has two kids that lives 2 blocks away
Sure.
may want to drive there.
Yeah, obviously it's not the concern we're trying to mitigate, right?
Yeah,
So,
I think the concern is during the morning hours, during the morning rush and in the evening rush, that we try to minimize, the traffic outside of those hours.
right.
Everybody's either off to work or on the way back, so you're not really there experiencing as much. But obviously, when you're there or you're home, we want to try to reduce the amount of traffic on Southwest 10th Street.
And I think there was some mention about the park and, it being our park, but it seems like you guys are going to develop it and run the park and maintain the park. So we are going to receive I'm assuming a perpetual access easement, but it is not being dedicated to the city.
It is not being dedicated
Correct,
to the city, yeah. So what we are doing is, we've done this in other jurisdictions, what we have is a privately held piece of property that will be privately developed into a public park. And the way we do that is essentially we create an access easement to get into the park and then a covenant that basically regulates the way the park's going to operate, which says that it will remain publicly accessible to the public. And your city attorney and city manager have put some pretty strong teeth into that covenant over the last couple of weeks.
Good.
Can you speak to some of the residents' comments about the loading and unloading and the trash pickup? I think most of that has been internalized, but if you guys can speak to that, I think that may be helpful.
Yep.
So Robert, do you want me to take it or you want to? Yep.
Once again, all the loading and trash is all internalized. For this particular building, that is occurs here. So the truck will come into the property. This is where it would happen. On the other building, it happens in this location right here. The drop off, again, as I mentioned before, one, you come into the property. This is designated for pickup and drop off, and on this building, it's back here. So everything is internalized inside the property, nothing outside. And what we've done is put it far away and convenient enough to have it actually, in this particular building, you have it on both sides. So it's, the service will be all conducted within the property. Same thing for the drop-offs. Everything is internal to the site. Does that answer your question?
I think that answers the resident's question.
So, go ahead. I got a lot of notes I'm reading through, so.
In regards to the pickup and drop-off of Uber or Lyft, typically human nature will kick in and someone will want to be in a big rush and they will walk out to A Street and figure that they will get picked up on A Street and be on their way. They will probably feel like they will save some time not waiting in the waiting area, and they'll go to A Street and they'll tell the Uber or Lyft driver to pick them up on A Street. Now, is there any rule, regulation, or some kind of incentive not to make the resident do that?
So there's a couple of things we've done. One of them was a comment from city administration that we did. If we could go back to the plan for a second, just to highlight that. One of the things we've done is in the front now, where you would have, this is all going to be heavily landscaped, right? And this is all going to be outdoor dining and seating and additional landscaping here. So there's really not a lot of places to stand other than the sidewalk. And usually you're not allowed to stop the Uber on the side of the road. Some people do it. But what we've done is that within each of the buildings, we've created lobbies, right, that are AC'd, right, to incentivize people to use them. So we've created Uber designated waiting areas inside each of the building. This one has one here within the lobby. We have this covered area here that could be used also for pickup and drop off. And then this one has its own area as well. So each one is going to have designated interior AC areas with couches, a little lobby area to wait. So we're incentivizing that also.
I know that.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. But again, human nature will kick in and there will be always someone that will want to break that rule. What can we do?
Yeah, can I interject
to
you? Because
keep-
I've had this conversation with Mr. Vizcarrondo, and I've had this conversation with Uber. You guys are going to be discussing with Uber, when there's sites of constant pickup, you can work with Uber and Lyft to designate exact spots that they default to, that you don't move from the
Correct.
property, right? You guys are going to be doing
geopinning,
that.
yeah. We are
Right.
planning to geopin within those locations that because there's 2 buildings, so you'll geopin depending on your location into each one of those
Right,
lobbies.
it defaults, when you call it to an area, it defaults to that location if you're in a certain radius, which would be,
Yeah.
Well,
square
yeah,
footage.
that's what I'm alluding to, that there's got to be something in place instituted so people will not for any, circumstance, go out to A Street and try to wait there for their Uber pickup. And again, that would be more up to Uber or Lyft, to the company, to say, no, we can't pick you up on A Street, you got to be in the waiting area. Or, you can go further and, on the lease, put some kind of penalty that if they do this, they're going to be fined or.
So I will say, this A Street's not C7th Avenue. So if people are going to do that, we better allow medical use on the property, because there's going to be so.
All I'm saying is that, A Street is a huge thoroughfare, in the mornings and in the afternoons. And if you have a vehicle, stop there for any reason, you will cause a backup, that's gonna cause problems and issues. And of course, we're gonna have more vehicles. And they're gonna wanna exit. They're gonna wanna exit to A Street. They're either gonna go west or they're gonna go east. So anyways, this is something very simple, sort of insignificant, but if it's not addressed, it will cause issues that will be very significant.
So I just spoke to my client. In addition to geo placing it, we are also going to, in our lease agreements, provide notice, and we could have notices posted up as well about taking things in your designated Uber. We do have security on site as well as one of your conditions. We'll have them monitor as that well. So we'll have multiple different oversights to ensure that that happens.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
I think it's clear you guys are doing everything you can within your development to make sure that the Uber and the Lyfts are addressed, but as the commissioner mentioned, human nature takes hold at some point. He mentioned 8th Street. I'm thinking even 10th Street. Come out through the park, you avoid the traffic. And this is not a question for you,
Yeah.
it's more for staff. Is there a way that we can police this in-house where give the teeth to the police department, for example, if there's people coming out through the park, through the linear park area, getting picked up there daily via Uber, Lyft, what have you, to make sure that they can get some sort of fine, or can we put signs up? Is it something that through their lease agreement that we can report them to the management company and get some sort of,
Well, we will work with the management company and the developer to make sure that this happens. It's like if you go to the airport now, going to the mayor's point, if you ask for an Uber to pick you up at the airport, it's sending you to the Uber pickup line, whether you want to or not. So that is what we'll be working with to ensure that happens. If somebody wants to step outside of that, and if there's a car that's illegally parked on the street,
right?
Considering it's right next to City Hall, yeah, we'll be enforcing it. Yes, sir.
Let's get into some sight lines, fire police, amenities. Let's get into, let's start with sight lines. There's been concerns about, obviously, the height, privacy, sight lines, these sort of things. So, I mean, I think this is both a legal / architect question, but let's explore how some of that is mitigated and for different people and different sides.
Mayor, you're alluding to line of sight, right?
Line of sight, yeah.
Hold on,
Okay, yeah, line of
just-
sight.
Just go back to that image, Guillermo, the one I had up.
So if we can identify which are the single-family
Yeah, so
residences
just to
that will
give
be
you-
more affected?
So the most immediately adjacent are these here to the south. One of the things that we've done is we've committed to keep all of the specimen trees that are there. These are huge, really dense trees. We are not removing them, we're preserving them, we're keeping right where there is. And this creates almost like a natural canopy that blocks the views up from those houses into the building. I'm gonna let Robert get into some of the actual design elements of this and the spacings that we have.
Yeah, and to the best of your ability,
Yeah, but-
explain how the line of sight works with different.
Yeah, and
with
I just
different
want to
things.
mention from the legal side, which
Sure.
is not the fun side, but the reason that we created this new code and designed this project this way is because usually your code draws an angle that comes in from the property lines, and that says how tall of a building you could have in proximity to residential. Under today's code, we could push this building much closer to the
Oh, yeah.
residential.
I mean, 8th Street, they're like on top of the buildings.
Yeah. Now, on the other
Or some of the
side, the way
houses.
the angle works, and Robert will show you, we are well under that angle. So from a technical perspective, right, what we've done is, as Robert mentioned, we've moved everything into the middle of the site, but I'll let Robert get into some of the setbacks.
And there will also be an 8-foot wall there, right?
Well, let's go into all of the different
Yeah.
things that are, let's hear it all.
Okay. On the southern part of the property, which is the closest to the residential, we have two mature trees that they are exceeding 75 feet in height, and those will remain. And that's the reason that we place the 3-story building 75 feet from the property line. So here you're gonna have, there's two existing centennial trees that are in excess of 75 feet in height. We push the building back 75 feet, and then we further, to minimize the impact, this building starts at 200 feet from the property line. And like I mentioned before, it steps back. So the visibility angle is not even, I want to say not even a 22 degrees angle. So you're not going to be able to see with the sight-line into those properties from any of these buildings. Little less with the mature trees that you have there. And we will commit to add more mature trees to further enhance that buffer area. And that's a critical point where, you know, the rest is really commercial.
Is that commitment is in conditions in the landscaping plan?
The landscaping plan has to be approved by the planning department, yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm not really concerned with the south part of the building. I'm more concerned about with the east and the west.
So,
I mean, I'll be honest, I think you guys did a great job of putting the bulk in the middle that abuts City Hall, commercial to the west, and to the east you have that townhouse development. But I'm concerned about those on 10th Street. I'm sure it's a pretty
yeah,
far distance.
it
I'm
is,
just
so-
curious to how we plan to buffer that, because there's no trees there right now.
So,
Keep in mind that you have a 20-foot setback.
no, wait, hold on. So one of the things we've done, because I know what Robert's getting at, and I think it's an important point to raise. Under your current code, right, for the building that would be allowed today at 90 feet, 95 feet, right, this building's 5 feet less, you would be required, from the east, a 20-foot setback. The closest point of this building is double that, which is 44, but that's only a very small portion of the building. The majority of it is at 85 feet, so we're almost quadrupling the amount of the setback that you have. So that's one of the ways that we mitigated height, is by moving the building as far away as possible from the single family. Something else that we've done, and I know that Commissioner Blanes was mentioning it, is in addition to this recently, we've worked with the city administration to create a wider landscape buffer along the eastern portion of the property, where we are going to plant additional tree plantings, and we have additional tree preservations that are going to be made in those areas. So we're creating a landscape buffer in addition to pushing the building back, which would create a much better scenario than you would have normally today.
Yes, and Mr. Celaya, just to answer you, and George mentioned, the required setback on the east and the west is basically 20 feet. We have, to the closest point of the garage, almost 79 feet. So we're 4 times the required.
And that's the garage you're saying, but the garage which doesn't have residential units. So.
Correct, and that's the closest. To the residential building, you have like another 10, 12 feet. So from that building, you're gonna be in excess of 85 feet or 90 feet. The one that is the closest, which is on, adjacent to Southwest 10th Street, we have 45 feet from our property, but there is a right-of-way there that has been or will be vacated by the city. So you have another 20 feet or so, which is right back in here. So you're gonna have in excess of 60 feet to the residential, and again, that's where the building starts scaling back. For the most of the property, is between 20 to 25 foot setback requirement. On the south side, we exceed that by 3 times that to 75 feet. And then to the building itself, like I mentioned before, 200 feet. Very important, keep in mind that you have 2 mature trees that are in excess of 75 feet in
Yeah,
height.
to be honest with you, like Commissioner Ceballos says, I'm actually, and I'll leave that to, the vice mayor. I think the back is in my view, very, very well buffered for all the houses behind. I mean, as far as I can see, I mean, I don't know your thoughts on that, but.
One more item
Go
to Commissioner Ceballos' question. On the east side is the parking garage, right? The parking garage are usually exposed. You could see through. We have a condition that was provided by city staff that that parking garage be treated with a mural. So in addition to the trees and the setback of the building, that garage is gonna be treated with a mural, which, do we have a rendering of that?
Which
I think,
basically doesn't allow any light infiltration into the outside of the building.
My concern is just building one, I'll be honest. I'm not concerned about the parking garage, I'm not concerned about the townhouse. I'm concerned about building one and how we can adequately screen the neighboring residential properties. I'm not saying you're not addressing it, I would just like to discuss it and see how that's being done so that we can make sure that's being taken care of. And also, you keep mentioning these 20-foot setbacks as a requirement. I mean, that whole area back there is single-family residential.
well, under a mixed-use designation or a live local
But yeah,
scenario.
but that comment is assuming
Yeah.
that this entire parcel has been rezoned MX.
Yeah, now,
which
if
would
it
never
was,
fly.
yeah, if it was, then you'd have a series of streets going through here and you would have,
I get it,
yeah,
I get it.
pretty
At the end of the
much-
day, we're all trying to make this the best
Yeah.
site possible.
Can we look at the rendering, the overhead view of the rendering? From the east, looking west? The 10th Street view?
That one?
Yeah, I think when we're talking about the east side, for example, it's the homes that are there in that corner. There's trees that are there in the rendering. Are these trees in the plans? These trees are going to be planted 100%? And what size
Yes.
are those trees going to be?
so, do you have the size of the tree?
Are those the villas? Those are not the same.
No, I'm talking about these homes on 10th Street here.
So that was not in the previous set of the plans. Our latest set of drawings, one of the key changes that was made is that we have moved the running track. We've moved the location of the running track and reworked things in order to create a landscape buffer for that specific area that's going to be planted. So in the previous plan, we did not have that, but in the current plans that are before you this evening, we do have a landscape buffer on the inside of that track that is going to be heavily landscaped. We've submitted landscape plans that show mature trees.
No, but we could say that we're gonna have 30-foot trees. You know, we could commit, we will commit to, along that portion of the property, commit to trees minimum of 30 feet in height, which will give you a buffer. And there's only like 3 of them there, because you don't have, keep in mind, Mr. Ceballos, that this piece in here,
My question is that doable? Can you really do 30-foot trees?
you could, yes, you can. You know, he's gonna be not very happy, but, you know.
He doesn't look very happy much.
But 3 trees, you know,
Yeah.
there, it's not a problem. Now, also, the portion of, keep in mind that you also have what used to be a right-of-way, right, along there, that is no longer gonna be there. Because that's something that I understand the city's gonna try to vacate. So you have an effort that the city could also do something there, a linear park, whatever you guys wanna do, to further enhance and create additional buffer.
But that also will have an 8-foot wall component on it now, as well as previously a 6-foot wall. As of this morning, we committed to provide an 8-foot wall along all portions fronting. So you'll have a large wall. We'll commit to the additional landscaping. And we, obviously, in that one section, that is why the architect has designed it in a tiered system that ranges between 60 and 80 feet. It doesn't go all the way up to the full 90.
To the staff, are we writing down these commitments on the landscaping?
Yeah, I think if you guys can commit to that on both sides, I think that would be a huge,
Look.
huge buffer for the
Look,
abutting
right here,
residential.
you only have space to do maximum of 3 trees.
Yeah.
I mean, because you cannot put a tree 10 feet apart. You gotta give them room to it to grow. So realistically, 3 trees there will cover the whole area.
Thank you.
Mr. Behar, talking about trees, 30-foot trees, what kind of trees? we can actually realistically bring that height?
Listen, you know, you could get a tree, an oak tree, that are field planted, field grown, that, you know, they're tall, the way they grow them in the field, you know, they're closer together, and then with time, they're gonna open up. You know, a 30-foot tree is not, you know, I don't mind to do it. You know, with time, they're gonna start growing, you know, out.
Yeah, well,
They're-
with time, everything grows,
Yeah.
but, you know.
But the height,
I
the
think
height.
I think we have another alternative solution that my client just mentioned, and it's something that we'll need to explore. But obviously, you have a very strong city manager who makes sure that we follow the rules here. We will. There are a lot of on-site trees within this property, and in our other projects, we have relocated some of these trees. So what we could do is work with the city and our arborists to identify trees within the property that are suitable for relocation. That way, we don't have to wait for, you know, we go out there, there's not a 30-foot tree, there's a 20-foot tree, and we have to wait, like you mentioned, Commissioner, 10 years for the tree to get there. We will look at our on-site tree resource and find the ones that are the most lush and the tallest, and we could propose to relocate 2 of those trees to that site there.
Are there trees there now like that?
There are trees, I'm just not sure what trees there are. Obviously, if there's already better landscaping than what we're proposing, then we'll promise to maintain them. I don't know what the exact condition of those trees are. If you give us a little bit, we can find out.
At what point are these trees going to be planted? Because the earlier the better. If the project's going to take a couple years to develop, we get these planted immediately, and then they'll have time to grow prior to the building.
Yeah, so usually the way that we would have to do it is we figure out when construction is going to happen, and usually 6 months before, we would start root pruning the tree, which means we start excavating around it, trimming the root ball, and preparing it to be moved. What we normally do is before construction happens on site, that tree gets relocated and it gets protected with you know, a border to make sure no one comes into it.
So that's for on-site trees, but for a tree that you're going to bring from off-site, can that
So
be planted sooner than 6 months
That
prior?
usually the last thing that happens is the landscaping, because you want to make sure that nothing on site damages the tree. With tree relocations, it kind of happens earlier, so we could look at that option first, because we would need to relocate that tree before. We can't build around it. So maybe that is the preference, because, you know, if we could find a good tree to relocate, or the existing trees there aren't sufficient, that would happen earlier.
Because the building is so far from the property line, it's easier to do that.
Yeah.
If I may, really, basically
Yes.
what we're talking about, I think is easy, is add a covenant. If the developer is in agreement with it, that we're basically going to be adding landscaping, trees, mature trees, to act as a buffer on both the east and west side where the single-family homes are abutted, and to ensure that that is something that we as a city agree to, and that they will come back also when we do the linear park and add some more trees in those areas.
Especially building 1, like.
Yeah. We're waiting for the applicant to
Commissioner Ceballos says.
commit to
As
the-
long as he commits to
Building
that,
one is
then
the,
that, we have the covenant, it's in writing, the residents have some protection, and we have some say-so as to how we will protect and shield those houses from the views.
One more question with regard to that. The 60th court that's being vacated, the portion next to the homes, that's not going to be part of the park, right? So the 8-foot wall is going to be abutting the property line, correct? With the tree line beginning
That
there?
is, Vice Mayor, that's something entirely up to the Parks and Rec Board. It could be designed all together, it could be designed as 2 separate entities with one connection somewhere. That is something that.
It's up to you, basically.
The way it's written is something that the Parks and Rec Board, it'll be brought to the Parks and Rec Board for them to look at the designs, pick what they want, and then it'll come in front of the commission for approval.
Well, I'm not referring to the main road, just that little tucked
The
away
linear
corner.
park, that's correct.
Well, the tucked away corner, if you're looking at the home facing north, that little area that's,
The 25 feet that's remaining now, correct.
right, so not the portion that heads to 11th Street, that little portion that if you made a right on that road, that tucked away corner, that's going to be part of the linear park as well?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, instead of a wall, you could put like, you know, some kind of fencing, you know, like bars, and then a hedge, Because, you know, the
But- but-
wall
but you're
gives
saying
it
for the-
sort of like an institutional look.
For the you're saying with the linear park?
Huh?
For you're saying for
Yeah,
the linear
that
park?
area
That's our call. That's our
Okay,
call when,
all right.
when that comes. We have an answer from the applicant on a lot of discussions going on. What's going on?
Discussing trees.
Yes.
So, it does not appear that currently today there are trees in that location.
Okay.
So we will commit to either relocate some there or purchase, new trees,
Okay. So that's
in that area.
perfect.
And again, that's a covenant that basically says that you'll bring trees to provide a blockage for the visibility from those homes, both on the east and west side abutting single-family homes,
Correct.
and work with the city in doing so.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Mature
So,
tree.
I think we're good between, so between 25 to 35 feet in height.
Okay.
We don't know, obviously, what's going to be out there, but it'll give us some flexibility, so we will commit to that range.
I got a, getting back to traffic, I have a thought, a suggestion. We really don't know the amount of people that are gonna live there and are gonna work from home. A lot of people do nowadays, so that's gonna be a plus. That's gonna help with traffic. But then again, some people have to go to a brick and mortar place to work. In those peak hours on 10th Street, where there's going to be a lot of people exiting onto 62nd, and they're either going to go north or they're going to go south. Is there any possibility, and again, this, we will need to see what happens, the amount of traffic, but we can, the building, the management can either pay one of our police officers to be there for a certain period of time, directing traffic, advancing traffic, so there's no backup. Or, I don't know if a security personnel can do it from management.
Well, they have as part of their conditions, they have 24-hour security on site.
No, I'm talking about helping with the traffic, actually stopping traffic and letting the traffic proceed, coming out of the building. You know, if you have 10 cars on 10th Street that are back up, and you have a police officer on 62nd that will stop the traffic north, you know, let those 10 cars by. That way, there's not a backup, there's not a backup to the city, there's not a backup to the fire department.
So those
So,
hours that we're talking about are rush hours, so they're very limited movements already occurring during that time. It's not like there's high speed going on, everybody's pretty much slow. I don't believe we could commit into the future to have a police
We'll
officer
have to
there.
see what happens,
Yeah, so I
but this
think
is a
what I was gonna
suggestion.
propose, to your point, was, and I've just seen other cities do it, this is not, I can't take credit for it, but what we could do is usually 2 years after TCO issuance, so the building is up and running now, right? 2 years after, we will do another traffic study, right? To identify anything that we can do to improve traffic in the area. And that way, we actually know how the project's operating, and we could get professional recommendations that, you know, whether it's traffic calming or some sort of.
Well, you know,
but-
you don't need to do a whole study to see that there's 10, 15 cars backed
they're
up
gonna
and
be-
trying to get
they're-
out.
but
Because
we're-
you do
we're-
have some traffic
Yeah.
going from south to north on 62nd every morning. So if you got some traffic coming out of building 1 or building 2 that is trying to get to 62nd to go north, and then to go west or east, you know, it just makes it simple.
Yeah, I just like
you know,
in-
kids, keep it simple.
Yeah.
You know, if you do have this issue, this could be one way to alleviating that problem. You know,
Yes.
pay a police officer for a couple of hours to go out there and manage the traffic.
I
We
wish
don't
they
have
would
to
do
wait
that
2
in my
years.
neighborhood.
We don't have to wait 2
yeah,
years.
in my
and we
neighborhood,
don't
what
have to do a
happens is,
traffic study.
so we don't know if that's gonna alleviate
Well,
traffic.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We have to wait and see. It will alleviate.
Well, if there's nowhere for the car to go because there's nowhere for the car to go because there's 62nd is backed up, either someone's gonna come out and see that there's a car here, I can't go right, they're gonna make a left easily. Or if there's a right and the light's red, there's nowhere to go. Like, you just have to wait. It's what
True.
happens in my neighborhood, unfortunately, every morning when
I'm offering this as a suggestion
Yeah.
that maybe we can see if we can institute this if it's gonna help.
Yeah, and that's
I mean,
what I was
we-
suggesting.
you know what? I don't know, maybe the 100% of the people that move into this building work from home. Maybe none of them will be leaving. I mean, we don't know. This can, there can be
Yeah,
a
with the
good
way
percentage
things are
of
going,
people.
more and more people, what we've seen practically is.
By the time the second building is done, there might be, driverless cars. It's like, how
Yeah.
many years is it gonna take for that second building to get?
So we intend to, the first one within 4 years, and after that, proceed with the second one.
Actually,
Four
building,
years.
building
Yeah,
on
like
that,
within 4 years.
and what Commissioner Blanes has suggested, one of the notes that I have, how many units are in phase 2?
287.
287?
287 units
And your
in phase.
parking pedestal is going to be built as part of phase 1.
That is correct.
Okay. So as part of that, we're going to know what the parking situation is in building 1, the townhouses, the full parking will be built. Building onto your suggestion, and I believe your suggestion as well, can we do a study, once those buildings are built, we've got excess parking, to see where we're at? Maybe the 1.6 is not enough, maybe the 1.6 is too much. And we can revisit that and maybe adjust the programming on that second phase to make sure that there is not spillage into the residential neighborhoods of these parking.
So you're saying a traffic study at the
A traffic
completion of
and,
phase.
and a parking, analysis to see if your current usage, which is 200 and something units less than your eventual unit, but you have your full parking. So I'm assuming that the rate is much higher than 1.6.
I think it's
Yeah.
gonna be like three. Like,
Probably
No,
well over
yeah.
2.
Which is why, their phase 2 will get done shortly after, because
Of course.
we've already
You
built
ca-
the
You
entirety
can't
of the
commit to
parking.
building that size of a parking and not have somebody to use it. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, can we put that as a condition, do a traffic study, and just do a simply parking analysis? A traffic analysis, and mostly, in my opinion, parking, because that's one of the overwhelming concerns that I heard from the residents today. So make sure if we need to, make some tweaks in phase 2 to address it, I think that would be a great, great
I
idea.
think that's a very smart idea. I think both you and Commissioner Blanes have a good point, and I think you're right in terms of we're going to have at that point a sufficient amount of units built out. It'd be a good kind of test case.
And see if the 1.6 works.
Yeah.
If the 1.6 works, or the 1.5 or 1.4, whatever it may be. And then maybe you can adjust the programming, maybe put more to retail in the front, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It'll give you a real-life depiction of what the use is.
So we could, I think usually the way that I've seen it done is either 1 year or 2 years after TCO. You need a year to let the people start figuring out how the building works. We will do a traffic study that'll be reviewed by city staff. And any recommendations, then we could go ahead and
Do you
reassess.
imagine holding a building permit within 2 years after TCO on the main building?
We don't know.
No
We hope,
idea.
because we're gonna have a whole parking garage built.
Right.
There is an
So
idea.
I'd rather
I know
not,
that-
I'd rather not make it conditioned, that we wait 2 years, that you do the traffic study and the parking analysis before you can pull building permit on phase 2.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna be a bit of a hardship that I'd rather not put on this building, and let's be clear, I want this building to succeed. So.
Yeah, we have, we will be, by that time, we'll know exactly what phase 2 is going to be, because phase 1 is rental. There is a potential that phase 2 becomes a condo at that time, which will, obviously change some of the unit counts and unit layouts. So I think it'll be a good opportunity to then make any tweaks that we might need.
I think that'd be great, thank you.
Got another thought. Oh,
Just to build on the parking situation, I know that we're gonna be doing studies, and you guys are you already presented that to us, you're gonna present it prior to phase 2 as well. I think it was mentioned before, not that we think this is gonna fail as far as with regard to parking, but to kind of calm some of the residents that live around there, residential parking decals, to ensure that if any car leaks out into the neighborhood.
I actually, and this discussion I've had with management a lot, again, we have to be, and this is something we've talked a lot with management, with the applicant. We have to be confident with our parking program, right? And like Commissioner Sabaya was trying to accomplish, trying to make sure that we continue to be confident in our parking program. I would not want at this point to burden the residents around and especially my street would be my street and the 10th Street on the other side would be the two streets that'd be most burdened by that program. It's a program that we've set up in a number of locations around the city. I know we've worked a lot with on 16th Street, on 9th Street, to get these programs done to mitigate challenges. But what we've tried to accomplish with the parking is we've looked at past projects and why they failed, and on the parking, and we've tried to mitigate that with this project. Now, is it on the table theoretically? Yeah, of course, we've done it before. We have the ability to do it. I don't think there's a need. The city can do that at any point. I don't think there's a need at any point now to, and I say burden. It's not such a burden. It's the idea that you can't park on the swale unless you're a single family home resident. It's not so much of a burden. They got to put a little decal whenever you have a visitor there. It's just something that's not necessary at this point. It's something we can do if we want to, if residents want it. But I don't at this point, and that's the only reason. We've had discussions with the applicant. At this point, I'm confident on the parking, and again, my street would be the most affected by that.
And I agree with you. It's not something that's necessarily for the special use permit, but just something to look at moving forward, and
Yeah,
not
we have the
just not
ability
just
to-
for this
we have the ability to do
property, but all the properties around the city.
And we're doing that, and so we're working with residents on Sylvania as well. On this, we've done it in a number of locations around 6th, 7th Avenue. But again, we have to sit here and be confident in our parking program. If not, then we're not asking enough questions here. So I know that the 1.6, just to be clear, I've sat through a lot of development meetings, and I always hear the logic on it. Well, first of all, you can't have a sixth of a car, right? And everybody has two, and it is, I know it doesn't sound like the most logical thing in the world, but it's actually a good amount of parking. This is a six-level garage. We actually bumped it up when we were actually pretty confident on the last number before planning and zoning, but hearing concerns from residents and obviously concerns I have myself, we actually twisted their arm and forced them in a number of locations to continuously add more and more and more spots. I don't know where else they were going to find more spots, but it's something that we have to in this board be confident with. And I like the suggestion on the study. I think that's very smart. Before the second building gets permitted, but I at this point feel very confident with the parking program, and obviously want to continue that confidence. So that's why we're talking about that.
One thing, Mayor, to your point, because I think it's important, because you guys did push us on the parking.
It was fun, yeah.
Yeah, it was a great time. We basically got to 974 spaces, and one of the things I want to highlight, because this is something that has been done in the past, and I think has created some parking problems. Of those 974, and don't quote me, I think only 28 are tandem. Some of the others.
Explain that, because I
Yeah.
dealt with this in my building, and just explain the difference.
So these are all individual parking spaces. They're not the tandem that people sometimes don't use, or they use, when they have visitors over. We really looked to provide as much, individualized parking as we can, in addition to the drop-off and pickup lanes. But we did get it to almost 1,000 parking spaces. And one important thing to highlight is that the supermajority of our units, I think up to like 68% or 70, are one bedrooms and studios. So this is not a project where you have, I think our 3 bedrooms are at less than 2% of the total units. So this is not a project where we have all 3 bedrooms and we're parking it at, a 1.5 ratio. We're at.
And if I may, the buildings that we've had here in the past, that there was one building that was approved in previous administrations, previous councils, that had 70% tandem parking. Now, best practices require tandem parking to be held around to 20 to 25% max. And the reason why you don't want tandem parking is one space and another one behind you. When you have that, you're going to try to figure out somewhere else to park so you don't block in your wife or your husband or whoever in there. And the utilization rate for tandem parking is around 75%. So if you do that math and you have a lot of tandem parking, your ratio's never gonna be that high. That's number one. Number two, a lot of those other buildings that have been approved don't really have guest parking. Their guest parking is inside their gates, so unless you have access to the gate, you don't have guest parking. You guys have over 200 surface parking spaces here, so guest parking is more than adequate on this project. So just on those two things alone, this project is highly superior to anything that's ever been approved in the past. I don't even want to get into the density part of it, but this density is substantially lower to some of the things that were done in the past year as well, where we actually found one that was about 145, 150 units to an acre, which should never have happened, should never have been administratively approved, but it was. So
Yeah,
piggyback on you,
you're not telling me any secrets. I lived in the building on 57th Avenue for my law school years, and aside from, actually, it became a very nice actually when security was introduced, which is why it was such a big point that I made on you guys for management. It became actually a very nice living for a little while, but the parking was pretty dumb. It had guest parking. It was totally internalized, the parking in the garage. You had guest parking, but they were behind a gate that only residents had access to, and there was no way to give a guest access to the gate. So it was really, really one of the dumbest operations I've seen, and that was very informative on how we kind of talked on this project, and having those enormous amount of surface spaces that mitigate that completely. Because guess is what really, there's two things that cause an issue on the parking. Actually, the parking is not actually an issue in the buildings. There is actually enough spots in the buildings in all the buildings that we've had in the city. There's two things. One is the payment for the spots, right? And then two is the guest parking that cannot physically park. And they'll come up, and I remember when I was on the commission, our public works director and an applicant came up and said this whole thing, and I knew it wasn't true. And he said the whole thing of, we have this program where a resident goes down to the office and they get a pass, and that pass gives them access. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, does this guy live in the same building I do? Because it doesn't exist. And so I didn't want to hear any stories of programs or whatever. I mean, with the surface lots, that's mitigated completely. That's a huge pro that we don't have to deal with, thank God. If you could, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure. We maintain order, right? Because I don't want. So let's do this. Let's wrap up some questions here. I'll give a little bit of time, for public comment again, and then we'll do a rebuttal, and we'll take it that way. Because otherwise, I gotta be fair to the applicant too. They're turning their head 100 ways. So let's keep it in order. Is there any question on parking? I want to move on police and fire, because there's a lot of.
I got something.
Go for it. Go for it.
I got something that can be beneficial to parking and to traffic. Just recently, the city of West Miami passed an ordinance allowing golf carts, with having them to be registered and consider what's called a slow-moving vehicle. In other words, you can purchase a golf cart and you can drive it around the city of West Miami, go to Publix, go to our new recreational center, go to restaurants in your golf cart.
That's amazing.
Without having to have,
I lived in a community that had that, and it was fantastic.
So, Palmetto Bay, Pinecrest, Cutler Ridge, our neighbors to the south, are beginning to mount an effort, for people to use these electric vehicles. It's good for the environment. It's a lot of fun, and if you go to Publix, you can park anywhere. You won't have problems, finding a parking spot. One suggestion, and I don't know if you guys want to consider it, is maybe buying some golf carts and allowing your residents to use it to go to Publix, to go to our recreational center, to go to restaurants. I know it's a liability, but you know, you can have them sign off a release, or you can have employees, you know, a big golf cart, you know, one of those big ones, you know, make a trip to Publix, you know, and that way it eliminates 1, 2, 3, 4 less cars on the road, and you know, you make your trip to Publix and you come back, and you know, it's a lot of fun. And
I think that
It's,
would, I think from a liability perspective, we wouldn't do that.
yeah, you know, but or you can encourage, you know, the maybe have some areas for golf carts,
Yeah.
where they can park their golf carts, and or it's a thought, you know. It's, you know, I'm trying to have our residents buy more golf carts.
Yeah, he wants to park his golf from the restaurant, the cafe. have the space for him.
And if anyone wants to wait to see his golf cart after, it's
You know,
outside.
we're such a small city that a golf cart is really all you need to get around, to go to the restaurants, to go to the supermarket, to come to City Hall, to go to our recreational center. And you know what? You don't have to use, you know, fuel. You don't have to
Yeah.
get in your car. You
I think
can
what we
use your
could
golf
do
cart.
is as part of that parking analysis that we're going to be doing, we could look at the current park, because right now we tried to maximize parking for vehicles, and I think that program is probably going to be pretty successful in West Miami. I know it's been in other cities. We could do as part of that parking analysis that we committed to, we could look at it at that time and see if we have additional parking, or if there's a need for it, we could try to accommodate it then. and look at
Remember,
it.
in the first phase, there's so much parking, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right, because they built out the whole garage for 2 buildings. The second one doesn't exist yet.
Right.
So you can you have a whole floor in the garage for your golf cart.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sophia brought up a good point. I'm a firefighter, and she brought up the point where we love Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. We have them right next door.
Yep.
The response times are phenomenal for our small little city. Is there a study that it considers response times and things of that nature when it comes to development of this
So
nature?
there are 2 things. One of them, we did a traffic study that analyzes impacts to levels of service on the roads. We do not trigger any defaults in levels of service of the roads, even with I'm calling them road closures, but they're just private road closures because the roads remain. We're just not accessing them. One of the things that happens as part of our building permit review process is that Miami-Dade Fire Department's going to review our plans. And if they have any comments, we don't get a building permit without addressing those comments. So our traffic study showed that there'd be no issues with the levels of service of how they operate on these roads, but also Miami-Dade County Fire Department's going to review our plans. We're also going to work with them on the 2 that we are privately closing. They're going to have Knox access gates for emergency access. So we'll be working with fire department as well. So they'll be heavily involved in our site plan review.
And there'll be impact fees.
There'll be impact fees for police and fire as well.
Yeah, so in terms of police, and this is for administration as well, so there's impact fees. There's obviously, as you mentioned, additional tax revenue that, goes towards things like paying officers and hiring new officers. In my experience, the security on site is such a game changer, because it takes police from having to deal with small issues in these buildings that they have to, and the chief can attest to small issues in these buildings, and takes it out of the public policing hands and puts it into, their private hands. So we get a bunch. We basically get more bang for the buck in terms of policing, right? Because we're going to be getting more officers on the streets, right, without having to deal with small issues in the buildings like other buildings have had, drawing out police to stupid things, right? Now, is there going to be emergencies? Yes, right? That happens. But I think that ultimately, someone mentioned the tax dollars, and tax dollars being good, right? I'll be very clear. In the past, and I get it, in the past there was an excuse of approving buildings because of tax revenue, and that's fine. We're not in that position anymore. We're not trying to maximize every little dollar of additional revenue we can get from tax dollars. we're actually, and I'll give a sneak peek, I'm very confident, at least I'm proposing it, the commission will pass it if they want, that we're gonna be able to lower taxes again this year, pretty significantly, especially compared to the rest of Miami-Dade County, which is actually raising, taxes everywhere. And when this building, if this building is approved and the tax revenue and it's built and the tax revenue comes in, I plan on doing three things, and I'll propose three things, and that is, number one, hiring more officers, because that's good for the whole community. Number two is just putting capital projects. Number three is lowering and taking that residual and just lowering taxes. I mean, these are the pros that you get with development that, frankly, for kind of the years following the previous developments, weren't realized. We got all this new tax revenue, and it wasn't coming back into the city for capital projects. It wasn't coming back in terms of lowering taxes. And, I hope that everyone has seen that we have started to do that the last couple of years. And, my commitment is to continue doing that. So I want to be clear, this is not a situation where we're looking to approve development or, or incentivize development because we need tax revenue. That's not the case in this situation at all. I mean, again, we wouldn't be lowering the millage rate before any even if they build this building, it's not going to be for a couple of years. That tax revenue isn't realized. So that's not the situation we're in. I just want to make that very clear, because I heard that in planning and zoning, and I heard that now, and I get it. I understand that's the first instinct people have, but it's just, in this case, not, the case. So we talked about, I heard some concerns about the rec center, talking about capital projects. Can we have someone from the development team talk about the amenities in the building? Because I think the amenities in the building are very important to make sure that they don't overload our amenities that we have in the city.
We're planning to incorporate, like normal, a fitness center. We're gonna do also what is gonna be an area for co-working, so that you could work in the common area, the fitness center, the pools, multiple amenities that's gonna be utilized by the resident. And I think there is a rendering that shows the rooftop of the garage where we're putting it. That whole area, the whole garage is gonna be essentially almost a green roof, because you're gonna have the landscaping and all the areas for the residents to use. This is just one portion of it. So we have multiple amenity spaces that's gonna be on the roof. And then on the ground floor, I'm sure we're gonna have those co-living by the lobby, co-working spaces that it's become very.
But you're gonna have a full-scale gym, right? I mean,
Yes, for the resident, you have to. In today's environment, if you don't offer that in a building, nobody's gonna be there. So.
Follow-up question on that. Development condition 8, comprehensive on-site amenities package shall be provided. It shall be a minimum of 2.5% of the overall square footage of all buildings. This is a recommendation from staff. Do you guys feel that this 2.5% will ensure that individuals living there would rather stay on site, utilize those amenities versus going to our rec center, let's say? Obviously, we can't say that for certain, but.
That's a benchmark for them to meet, Vice Mayor. They actually exceed it. So
Okay.
we feel
And
comfortable
keep
with
in
what
mind,
they're
we
giving
also
us.
have 2 large courtyards that are gonna be used for amenity spaces, internal to the building. So that's something that we even calculate in our, performance. So you in addition to the actual fitness center room and all, you have those spaces. If they wanna do yoga or something, that's the place to do it.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor.
Go for it.
I got a question. Garbage. You guys gonna be, making a lot of garbage. So, pickup. Where exactly is the pickup for the garbage?
I'll show you.
And we have an ordinance in the city of West Miami that no commercial garbage pickups can come and do their pickup till 7:30 a.m. Cannot come at 5, cannot come at 6, cannot come at 6:30. It's got to be 7:30.
Look, what we done for the convenience of the resident, we put in each room, in each building, a trash room on both sides of the building. One on the east side, one on the west side. Okay? That happens on both buildings.
There's a chute, right?
Yeah, you put a chute and you have a trash room. So the garbage pickup goes in, picks up on that side, goes around, picks it up on the other side. One, to facilitate, make it more convenient for the residents. They don't have to walk all the way around. And that occurs, again, internally, where if you look at this, on this side of the building, you have where it's a surface drop-off area with a trash room right there. And in addition to that, that occurs on both buildings, the same thing. On this side, we even gone further. We even put in the loading bays, so you have a designated elevator, freight elevator for moving and all. So we're trying to get everything to be internalized, away from the residential areas, and convenient to the residents.
So you guys will use a company like Waste Management?
I'm sure,
yes. And where would they come in again?
They're gonna come in through, zoom out, 8th Street.
And they will have ample,
The maneuvering radiuses, all you have to comply, not only with them, but with the fire department and everything. So you're gonna come in, you're gonna be able to go right here on the first one, you go around to the second loading area and trash pickup, to the third, and to the fourth, and then they will exit into 8th Street.
How many times do you anticipate a week that they will
I
come?
can't,
Yeah,
that
we
is.
don't know that yet.
That is above my pay grade, I don't know that part.
Well, again, they gotta come after 7:30.
That's fine.
cannot
Whatever
make-
the,
you cannot
whatever the
make-
rules and regulation
Well,
of the
that's our law,
city,
so-
you have to do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had a period of time there where there were, Waste Management and all the commercial companies were coming at 3 a.m., 4 a.m.,
See,
5 a.m., and
What-
that disturb our quality
No,
of life.
listen, if it's 7:30, after 7:30, one thing that we're doing is facilitating. You got 4 for the 2 buildings, two trash pickup, location, trash room for each building. That is typically not the case. You only have 1. So we're making it easier, not only for the resident, for the company to do their job.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
You mentioned in that diagram there that the truck would enter through 8 and leave through 8th. Is there a way that we can put in the design truck in the covenant where commercial vehicles are not gonna, we already established that 10th Street has to be open. Is there a way to avoid commercial vehicles utilizing 10th Street? This will in turn go down 62nd, and we'll have commercial vehicles on 62nd.
We could put signage, however acceptable to the city and Public Works and all.
Yeah, I mean, these are your own commercial vehicles we're talking about, so.
Delivery trucks, garbage.
Yeah, so these are all gonna be, we hire them, so we will coordinate with them to make sure all access is through 8th Street. So that's something that we'll do.
We talked about a restaurant, having a restaurant, so, if you have Cisco's come and deliver food to the restaurant,
That's why in the planning and zoning, go back to the site plan, Guillermo.
they
and the-
typically don't have the small truck, they
No,
got a semi.
Well, not necessarily. You could coordinate with the vendors that they could come in with a smaller truck. They don't come in with
we've done that.
a W65. And what we done in the ground level for the retail, that's what we introduced this area, this drive, so they could use the area, that drive, for the delivery and pickup to those retail areas. So they don't have to, they're not to park, and this is 15 feet. We put that clearance on that drive to be 15 foot high. So you could bring just about any box truck through there. They're usually about 11 feet. So we are gonna, and then again, like George mentioned, we will work with them, so this is the location they have to come to.
Mr. Manager, can we make sure that that's in the covenant as well? They can't use 10th Street?
Yes, so we're making the notes now, sir.
Thank you.
I want to hold true to my promises here. We had a, no, not George. Ms. Shapiro, I believe? Yes. Yes. If you could go to the mic, just because it's for the record. No, it's not for us. We can hear you. Everything's got to be public record, so.
I just want to make one comment. I know we were discussing density, and I don't think we were talking about population density. But this development is going to increase the city's population density by quite a bit. And I don't think we're really talking about that and all the different ramifications that we haven't discussed to this point. It's going to change West Miami, and I understand that, and life is about change, so I'm not arguing that we shouldn't go forward. But I think the number of units that we're discussing here, and I know this is going to be a radical question, statement, whatever, the number of units we're talking about right now will make a radical change in the population density of the city, and it's going to change the way the city of West Miami feels and operates. And I hope that each one of you on the city council, but also in the city government, the employees, takes that into consideration, because that's why we live in the city of West Miami. The house I live in now was owned and originally bought by my in-laws. I've lived there 20 years. My in-laws lived there since 1955. This is a city where people stay, and I hope it stays that way, but I'm worried, and I don't think I'm the only one that's worried.
No, of course.
Traffic hasn't really been addressed, but honestly, I don't know. Considering the number of people we're talking about bringing in, I don't know what we can do about traffic because, again, we're a small city. So I'll close my comments now and say, please don't forget that this is a city that is about family, is about commitment to the area. This isn't a place where people move in and then move out. I grew up in South Florida, and many of the other people who are here, and we'd like to keep it so that we're not a transient city, not a city where people move in and then move out in a year or 5 years or whatever. Thank you for
No, I
allowing
appreciate
me
that.
to speak.
If I could, no, if I could, I want to. So, I have all the same concerns you do. Like I mentioned, I purchased my property before this application was in, my home, which I purchased now. So I probably paid a little bit more than a lot of people in this room because the prices have gone up.
Well, that's another thing to consider, how this is going to affect our property value.
No, yeah. Let me just. So I live directly on one of the affected streets on that directly abut the property. I would like to a great comparison because obviously the unit count sounds high, and if it wasn't for the regulatory framework that I have to operate under, I would not be considering this project. Be very, very clear, right? And I'll explain why I am. But it is a lower unit count, significantly lower, probably about over 120 units lower than the buildings on 6th, 7th Avenue. So if you take the buildings 6th, 7th Avenue, which are on 6 acres of property, this is an 8 acre property.
That's a worst-case scenario.
No, I'm saying that just the
No,
people.
that-
I'm not talking
that's
about who they are. I'm talking about,
No,
yeah,
I'm not.
so the amount of people, right? There is about 120 more units in that cluster of properties than there are on this property. And that's on a much smaller, if you take all the properties together, it's about 6 acres. This is obviously, significantly more acreage. It's 2 acres more, which is a significant percentage more. So in terms of like changing the character of the city to the point where we're not going to recognize West Miami, look, I live next to it. It has not been the case. 6th, 7th Avenue has been a problem because of the people and management, right? It has not been because of extreme traffic going through or extreme, whatever. But this is where I'm hoping that you'll appreciate the position that I'm in, right? The reason these people are here and not going through Live Local and not going through this Live Local, which is that Florida act that allows them to circumvent us, is because if they go through us, right, they will make more money, right? They will make more money if they go through us, right? Because market rate, they can get all the units at the highest potential rent that they can get for them, right? And they will make more money in the long run. However, there is another side to that, right? Which is if we don't work with them, right, on the amount of units that make sense for them. And like someone mentioned, townhouses. Yeah, I would love townhouses, right? I would love it. It doesn't pencil out, right? I'm just being realistic. They bought the property at $26 million. It doesn't pencil out. So what they will do, it doesn't pencil out, like economically, it doesn't pencil out. So their only alternative, and I'm just speaking frank as just pure business, right? Their only alternative at that point, right, will go live local, say, okay, we tried, put up the 40% affordable housing. They don't have to give us the parking counts. They can do down to like under one parking per unit on the ratio. They can get probably, if I'm, 30 less units, something like that. 30 less units is what they'll have to live with. 30 less units, and
Mayor, under Live Local, they get more units.
oh, sorry, 30, yeah, more units. Sorry, more units. They can do one unit, one parking a unit, not pay any impact fees. So I'm just, I totally get it. I agree with you.
I understand.
I agree with you. Let me be very clear. I agree with you.
But
It's just
still a concern for us.
oh, 100%, 100%. It's a concern for me too. Like he lives right next to it. I live right next to it. I think no one lives too far from it. I mean, it's a small city, right? But I just want to, I'm hoping that you can appreciate the position that we're in, trying to make the project as mitigated and as good, hopefully as a catalyst as possible. Now, I will say, on your concern about the property values, right? That is one. I'm in the real estate business. That is one that personally I do not have a concern about. I think that this development is actually likely to increase everybody's property value around the park, the current trailer park. That's a professional opinion. You don't have to take it, but I do think it is going to. I'm sorry.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Believe me, I haven't started my construction on my renovations for my house now. I'm choosing to put a lot of money into it, knowing what's being applied for here. So I think, and I'm going to speak for the commission. I think everyone probably has the same concerns. I mean, I would imagine. I think you would, be very lost to not have the same concerns. But the position that we're in, we're trying to make the project as good as possible, so that we try to mitigate a lot of these things and increase property value, and all the like, and also get some commercial spaces, which, frankly, I wish it was promised in all these projects, and it's really the one thing that's very lacking in our city, which is I always, take meetings and they say, oh, let's meet at a cafe in the city, and I go, where? I mean, Latin America is great, but it's, where? It just doesn't exist. And there was something that was brought up by Otto, who, he owns restaurants and is a great resident here, lives very close to the building. And we integrated that into the application because we wanted to make sure that there was no sneaking out of building restaurants, right? That they had to do that. So what we basically did is we can't force them to give a lease to someone, right? But we could, and we did force them to build out all the expensive equipment that it takes to open a restaurant, right? Because once you've done that, you better lease that restaurant because you spend a fortune putting the grease traps and all the ducts and all that stuff. So that is a condition that I feel very confident about in actually getting some stuff back for the residents to be able to actually use. You can actually walk to a little cafe, to a little restaurant, things that you can't do, at least not in my part, can't do. I love walking to Surto, I love walking, but it's very limited. Like, we don't have a lot of options in the city. And as far as, yes, I would like to not have, the amount of units, I would like to not have all these things, but if we're gonna have it, I'd rather have it with mixed use and commercial and things that we can go to as residents and actually use and appreciate, right? But again, I fully agree with you. We're on the same agreement, but I don't want to say my hands are tied because they're not. I can vote no today and roll the dice, but it's not going to end well for us. We have to just make sure that we use all the leverage, and I believe we have been using every piece of leverage that we have as a city to make sure that we create the best product, something that, 'cause people can actually be hopefully even excited about, right? to make sure that we get the best result. I mean, I don't know if anyone else wants to
I'd
respond,
like
but
to
go
say
ahead.
something
Of course.
in regards to the sense of community. You know, it's the people that make the community, what they feel and, you know, and, you know, their thoughts and feelings and attitudes is what makes community. I live close to the building on 57th Avenue and 10th Street. And I have actually met many of the people that live there. And just about all of them love the city of West Miami. As a matter of fact, a lot of them, you know, younger couples were actually, you know, looking, you know, for real estate here in the city of West Miami because they like the city so much. So they love that sense of community that we have. And yes, we're a small city, and everybody knows everybody, and we have a police department, we have code enforcement, we have sanitation, now we got our permitting department, and, you know, it brings us closer. And you're right, it is a great place to live. And, you know, I believe that this administration has done a great deal to increase that, to increase the sense of community. We had a Halloween haunted house that was attended by, I think, over 3,000 people.
Not this year, don't worry. This year, we're putting the clamps on that. That was ridiculous.
We've had concerts that have been attended by the residents in the buildings. We've had so many programs, so many projects, you know, that have been given back to the community to give the community a sense of community, like you say, increasing our quality of life, now more than ever.
Farmers markets start at the end of this
So
month, by the way.
I think that going forward, you know, and it's been happening, you know, we've given back a lot to the community. Again, increasing the sense of community and the quality of life. And I think these residents are going to embrace that. You know, they're.
I hope so. And I have no problem with the people that may or may not move in. It's not the people themselves, it's the traffic really is my number one concern. And let's hope it doesn't get as bad as I'm afraid it will. Let's
Thank
hope.
you.
Thank you very much.
Well, let me tell you,
Yes, sir.
you're very distinguished resident of our city. You has been the most important person here tonight.
Yeah, no.
I want you to remember that. You has been
Yeah, no,
number
I
one
don't
here
think
tonight.
so, but thank you
Thank you
very
for
much.
coming.
So yeah, let's do one little round here of no, go ahead. No, you're already up.
So, thank you, and thank you, Commissioner Ceballos. I agree with the idea of traffic study, parking study, I love that, but I think you'll agree with me that they should pay for it, but you guys should pick who does it. It should be somewhat independent, because sometimes when you're paying for something, right?
Well, it's actually, if I'm going to interrupt you,
Uh-huh.
one of the first ordinances that I passed when I became mayor was actually just that, right? Which is that we had a rotation of traffic engineers that were on rotation that we selected, and then that the developers would come and pay for that, and that's how we've done it.
Please, because I think that would be, it would give us all confidence that what is being.
Yeah, listen, I'm like you. Whenever the developer comes with their traffic engineer, it's like, yeah, who's
Right.
paying you? I get it. We instituted that years ago.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Otto, just.
Thank you again. I just wanted a little clarification on something about the 10th Street that you mentioned, just so I understand it, because maybe I didn't understand it correctly. On the west side, right here on 62nd, one of the streets is going to be consistently closed with the gate, and then the other one is going to be temporary hours. Is that what I understood correctly?
I think you're correct. I'm gonna just, if we could pull it up for a second, I'll get some here too. Just to talk about access for a second. So,
Top one's going to be closed.
yeah, so this one is closed permanently. Well, yeah, but for fire.
Gables has
Yeah, they have a Knox access code. This one is closed permanently.
And then this one's temporary.
And this one is only during peak hours, during the week is it open?
And exit.
Yeah, and exit. And on the weekends it's open.
I just want to say I think that's a good median. You know, I thought it was going to consistently be open. Okay. On the other topics that I think you guys touched on, just obviously, and thank you for taking my advice on the restaurant stuff. I think some of the things that were brought up on like the Cisco trucks and the garbage, just from a person that obviously has like 12 restaurants, so one of the things that I work with as a restaurant just for Success Me is key drops, and usually key drops means like Cisco Gordon coming overnight and doing those type of things. That sometimes does alleviate traffic, alleviates, you know, blocking of parking, that these trucks, you know, these are large semis. I'm not saying to allow that in the ordinances, but just put that into consideration that it could create a headache if they have these areas that are like quiet and those trucks don't affect. It might be a positive to allow it overnight than, you know, like 7:30 or 9 in the
Yeah,
morning.
the design
when
truck.
everybody's exiting and coming in and out.
The design truck is something that it's not approved today and then never seen again, right? So it's something that we can continue having conversations on, and then, you know, make sure that whatever the best practices are, we continue talking to you on it, frankly.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Mayor,
Yeah.
Mr. Attorney, I got a question for you, just to be clear, clarify this. These entrances and exits on 10th Street that are going to be closed, you know, at certain times, what kind of gate barrier are you going to have? Is it going to be a one-arm bandit, or is it going to actually be because you know what, sometimes, if it's going to be that, you know, hey, the arm is up, hey, it's up. And,
So
you
you
know,
may have seen these
so
in Coral Gables. They have some along 57th Avenue has some too. They are fire gates that only the fire department has the key to access. I think, probably, I'm sure,
So-
Mr. Travis has seen them,
So
but
it's
they
going to be
are.
an electric, an iron.
I think they're manually opened, right?
I think he might be referring to the one that's going to be opening during peak hours.
Oh,
Right, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, what
So,
kind of gate you're going to have there?
usually that is a electric operated gate. It's
I don't-
Miami-Dade County is the one that approves the type of gate that goes there. Any kind of traffic calming or gate goes through Miami-Dade County.
And we can work on that as the
There's
application
got to
goes
be a
through.
way that we can change that, because you know what?
I mean, if it's down, you can't go through it. I mean, you will
Yeah,
destroy
but
your
what
car.
about if it stays up? And you know what? That can easily happen.
Yeah, I
Again,
mean,
human nature comes into play. Hey, you know what? Leave it up. There's too much traffic, and you know what? And it goes against the covenant that we have. So, I believe that a gate, you know, a rolling aluminum gate, ornamental type gate that will close and open, will be more adequate to make sure that that is what happens, that what you're saying happens.
so we will consider that, but at the end of the day, we can't commit to it. We will propose it, but it's up to Miami-Dade County traffic to approve the type of,
Well, that's in your property.
no, any kind of traffic calming gated, because remember, these are all public streets. These are not like
Yeah, but this is an entrance, a
any
means of
entrance.
egress, an exit.
It requires, because we
So-
do
so
these
let
all
me
the
ask
time,
you,
it requires an entrance feature application.
Other communities that you have throughout the whole state,
They all have the arm.
no, they don't.
Yeah, they do for any community you go into, generally has an entrance. They're all approved through entrance feature applications. That's the. If it's a private drive inside of your community, then you could have one inside of the community. Like if you go into any private community that's developed by Lennar or Shoma, inside they can have gates. But
Commissioner?
into a public right of way, it has to be
Can we, I don't know if maybe this is what you're getting at, but you're worried that if there's a power outage, if it breaks, whatever, that it might be stuck up and it stays up, and then the covenant is,
Well, you know, so we have an agreement
Yeah.
that gate, that entrance is going to be closed at a certain time.
can we make,
What reassurance that we have that it will be
So
closed at a certain
we
time?
have a
because-
covenant that's enforceable by the city, which is not just all these conditions, one of your conditions is that all the conditions that you approve today enter into the covenant, which is, operates like a master development agreement, and the city has enforceability provisions under that. So, I mean, we are also your neighbor.
We can
If
basically
there
shut them
is-
down. If they
Yeah, I mean,
basically-
if there is an issue, you know, we're right next
Okay,
door.
alright.
And we do have, there is a provision as well that we have security there, so someone is gonna be, it's not like, you're gonna have,
My understanding is that you're gonna have a 24-hour security,
somebody
one
there.
person
there's always somebody on site.
on a golf cart probably going around the whole place? Okay.
I don't know.
Let me ask you, I got another question for you. Let's say that the development is complete, done, 100%, and now you want to flip it.
Mm-hmm.
This covenant that you have with us, Mr. Attorney, Mr. Manager, when the new owner buys the property, is this covenant binding to him?
So one of the things that the covenant does a little different than just conditions of approval. When you approve a project with conditions of approval, unless that person goes and pulls that document, they won't know what the conditions are. We are taking those conditions, and in the covenant now, let's say we do sell it in 10 years to 20 years to somebody else, that document is on title. So when they go to buy it, it comes up on their title report and they see it. So that's why the recording goes an extra step, because now the new purchaser's on notice, and there is successor and assigns language that forever, until forever, whoever buys the property, that covenant is now binding on them.
Mr.
And
Attorney,
I
is
think
that
you're,
correct?
Yes, they are enforceable.
The only one that could release it is us.
that is correct.
Yeah, this is like, to give Daniel, your tennis fan, the Crandon Park, how they wanted to bring in, they wanted to do changes to it, to bring in the Miami Open, keep it, and that they couldn't change it. That was the covenant. They could not change
If
it.
we want to change one of those
Yeah,
conditions on the
but in
covenant, we have to
particular,
come back to
all
you.
these little details, like the gate and the this and the that, all the this little, that's all part of
At
it.
the conclusion of the meeting, I think, you know, we've heard your conditions. You will, you know, if you do move forward the project, you will incorporate those conditions, and then we will work with the city manager and the city attorney to make sure all of those are documented in the covenant.
All the elements that
All the
we've been
elements. I
speaking
think
about.
There's one right now that automatically captures any condition that's made is put into the covenant. There's a condition that any conditions be memorialized in a covenant that runs with the land and binds future owners. So these conditions, after we build it, if it's sold, whoever comes back in is going to be bound by those conditions as well.
The answer is they are enforceable.
Yeah.
Over time, it's usually the government that fails to do it.
Yep. Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
This was something that I had in my notes from planning and zoning, watching that meeting. I lived in the 67th Avenue building for 2 years, and something that I saw was one bedroom, mattresses on the floor, 8 people living in it. That obviously trickles down to affecting parking, et cetera. Somebody brought it up, and I think they were asking the chief to give the chief and code enforcement the teeth to enforce the occupancy. We don't currently have that in the current buildings, correct? Is that something that we can put in a covenant moving forward? Not necessarily for them, because they're gonna hold the property, but if it changes hands, we don't know who the management company coming afterwards could be. So to add that to the covenant running with the land.
Well, it depends, of course, significantly upon the facts of that. Do you have an 8-member family? Or do you more likely not have that, in which case you can enforce against it? If they're all family members, you have a different issue. But that's probably not the case with eight people. You're violating something there about single family, because it's single-family residence zoning. So you're not supposed to lease,
It's one
you're not
economic
supposed to.
unit or something. I mean, the definition changes over time.
So it's practically impossible to regulate, and you're getting into potential legal issues because of fair housing and who's allowed to house together, who's not, and what defines a family unit. It's a very complex nature. People just don't usually regulate in that field. It's going to be hard to manage, but we have a management company that obviously we have a level. You've seen the quality of the project
Right.
we want to build, and
Right, and again, it wasn't
Yeah.
with regard to you all, but
that's why
that was a
most
question that
cities
was
have
raised, so.
the way they try to do it is by the definition of family in their zoning code, and it's still.
Right, and the second question, thank you for that answer.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Second question, I think Mr. Behar answered it in planning and zoning also. Vibration detectors are on the property. Is that something that's standard in this type of development?
No, it's, Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's gonna take place, and then you guys will monitor and make sure,
It's a money that you typically put during construction.
okay.
So. Yeah, so.
Foundations in this building, because we don't have any subterranean. So when you're exploring into deep foundations is when you usually apply vibration monitoring, or when you have subterranean that's not cemented properly, like sugar sand, and which it happens in other municipalities in the county. But for us, vibration monitoring, it's for something that we're not digging deep, more than 3 feet, that we're digging for foundations. That would be something as an
So-
overkill, something.
I was,
Okay.
yeah.
So
I
not
was gonna
necessary-
mention,
okay.
like,
Yeah, because the other buildings all had subterranean parking.
so.
They were all
Yeah,
digging
also,
in.
so if you're going subterranean, that definitely impacts it. Also, the other projects were built right to the property lines, right? When you usually do it when we have the situation where you have a building that's over 120 feet, 97 feet, what they could characterize as a high-rise next to an additional high-rise, and they're building right next to each other, is to make sure the foundations between both buildings don't get impacted. Here, you don't really have a concern, because we have an 80-foot setback from the property line, so.
No,
I
mean,
think,
Go ahead.
I think this was said, but just to be clear, no subleasing,
That's a condition.
Yeah.
no subleasing whatsoever,
Or short-term rental.
and no short-term renting.
Yeah, that's one of the
No
conditions of approval.
VRB, whatever, and no, what's the other one?
Vacation rental by owner?
Right, whatever, yeah. No, right, Mr. Attorney?
That is one of the conditions. That's one of the, it's in the covenants.
Okay, all right. I just want to be very, very clear on that.
And we don't intend to do that, so.
Okay.
We don't have that in any of our other projects as well.
Yeah,
That
I
takes
have all my
away
things.
Yeah.
from
It's
the
a-
whole
it's a
quality
residential
of
project, exactly. It takes away from the quality and the
Commissioner, you have anything?
community we're trying to build.
Nothing else.
Vice Mayor, do you have anything?
No, I appreciate, I had a bunch of questions from the residents, and
No,
you
listen,
guys
we've
answered them all, so
been going
appreciate
through
it.
everything.
Thank you.
All right, we need a motion to put the covenants, the conditions, the additional conditions that weren't introduced during planning and zoning, into the conditions for this application, including the conditions that were newly added during this meeting, which will be drafted by city staff. Can I get a motion on that?
So moved.
You have a
That's for
motion?
the special use portion, which is item,
This is for the special use portion?
portion which is for item
Yes.
3C.
And this is just to put the conditions that have been added after the planning and zoning meeting, which weren't part of the application brought forward.
Right.
And the newly added conditions from tonight's meeting into the application. So this is just the motion to put it into the application.
Yes. What she's indicating is that would be appropriate, but not when you first take up the comprehensive plan. And then you take up the zoning, and when you take up the special use permit,
Yeah, we're
all
in-
of these matters
Yeah.
would be in the third
Correct,
round.
but right now, we've did a public hearing on all three items. So, because you're saying the resolution after. Okay, I get what you're saying. now.
Yes, I'm
I
just
got
saying you
I-
need
we're on
to,
the
you
same
need
page
to
now.
vote separately
I
on
got
each
you,
and
I got you, I
and you'll have
understand now.
amendment.
I understand now.
There is an amendment on the comp plan
it.
suggested by staff.
I get it. It's a resolution after, I see it. Okay.
Mr. Attorney, I got a quick question.
Go for it.
The ground parking, Mr. Attorney, the ground parking, what's it gonna be, asphalt?
Surface is asphalt parking, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not gonna be gravel or anything like that, no, it's gonna be surface parking. And we've worked with your, if you can see, we've worked with your city staff to make sure it's all landscaped.
Are there
as
gonna
well.
be any accent areas on there, you know?
No, what
speed
there is,
bumps,
what there is there are throughout, there's landscape islands throughout.
A what?
Landscape islands, we've added landscape features throughout
Yeah,
the parking lot.
we didn't want just a parking lot of just asphalt.
Which was
We
our
wanted-
original proposal,
right.
to the mayor's point. Yeah, yeah, we
So-
originally had all surface parking, and what we did is we've added,
As depicted here, right? You have all this element of landscaping.
correct, all the green is gonna be like all landscaped nicely. So it's not a, you know,
About lighting.
everything is well lit, yeah, we have lighting throughout, there's walking trails and stuff throughout the property.
Is the lighting depicted here?
No, we
anywhere?
have the lighting plan will be a building permit type thing. We have to do illumination study. Miami-Dade County requires all parking lots to meet a certain level of lighting, so we'll have to provide that, but we haven't
Okay,
done the
all right.
illumination study yet. And plus, it's gonna be broken down by phases, so
Right.
there'll be a lot more detail that goes into these plans, and one of them will be lighting and irrigation.
Let's just take the comp plan first, the special use permit, which is after, let's just take the comp plan first reading. Obviously, this comes back, this goes to the state and comes back in November, back to the commission.
The comprehensive plan ordinance, if you make a motion in a second, and then there is one suggested amendment.
There's a suggested amendment on the comp plan?
On the comprehensive
Okay.
plan ordinance.
Okay, do you want to hear the amendment now?
Yes, if somebody moves the comp plan.
Okay, someone move the comp plan so we can hear the amendment.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Dawson. Take it out? Okay,
It wasn't brought
Okay.
up, so.
Okay,
Perfect.
we're not going to suggest that amendment.
go ahead. We have a motion and a second on the comp plan. This is first reading. This goes to the state for approval, comes back to us for second reading, probably around November. We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Vice Mayor Chavez, the second was made by, who made the second? Commissioner Blanes.
Okay, I'm sorry, Commissioner Luciano Suarez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Gustavo Ceballos, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Juan Blanes, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ivan Chavez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Eric Diaz-Padrón, how do you vote?
Yes,
5-0.
thank you. Now, at this point, item D is the resolution. Please read the resolution.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Let's get the procedure
I
down.
think
Let's go.
item B is the zoning ordinance, if I'm correct.
Item
Yeah.
B is the zoning, yes.
Bravo, item Bravo is a zoning ordinance that creates the zoning district effective if the comprehensive plan is approved by the
Correct.
state.
Correct, but we had read them all together. Do you want separate votes on each of them?
Yes.
Okay,
Your
let's
Honor.
do that. Item
Mayor.
B. Can we get a motion, item B?
Motion.
We have a
Second.
motion, we have a second, call the roll.
Okay, Vice Mayor, I'm sorry, Commissioner Gustavo Ceballos, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Juan Blanes, how do you
Yes.
vote? Commissioner Luciano Suarez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ivan Chavez Jr., how do you vote?
Yes.
And Mayor Eric Diaz-Padrón, how do you vote?
Yes,
5-0.
that is a first reading, they'll come back upon the state review. Please read item D. Item C doesn't need a vote, correct? Item C is a,
It's a resolution, it only takes one reading, but.
right, that's the item D, though. Item C is not a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, item C is not.
Yeah, item
C
D.
you can skip. I mean, you already did C, you talked about it, but D
Correct.
is a vote, a resolution, which
Okay.
does have some amendments.
Yes, let's read it.
After you move
Motion was
them.
on there.
Let's read it.
Okay, item D, a resolution of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of West Miami, Florida, granting a special use permit index number 2025-001 to the Sunnyside West Miami project for property located at 6020 and 6024 Southwest 8th Street, West Miami, Florida, under the terms and conditions set forth in the application and supporting documents, providing for effective date.
So
Mo-
now, hold on. Now there's amendments.
Yes, if you move and second.
Okay, move it.
we have-
or
Motion.
Motion,
Second.
second.
Yeah.
At this
And the
point, yeah, go ahead.
The suggested amendment is what Ms. Soler read. She read word for word the conditions of the special use permit earlier in the meeting, and that is to be moved as an amendment to the special use permit that planning and zoning saw.
In addition to the amendments
Yeah,
that were
yeah, that's
added
it.
during this meeting.
Well, I think that would be a second motion.
Okay.
If we might, because we have this one that is exactly what she read, so we know what that is for sure.
But how do you want to take him? Because he's moved item D as a whole.
Right.
So we vote yes on item D, then we voted through without the new amendments.
Well, we'd like to take the amendments before you vote the whole thing through.
Right, that's what I'm suggesting. So that's,
Yes,
I think
so,
if you're accepting of the friendly amendment and the seconder approves of those amendments, both the one that was read by staff and the ones that were discussed today, we're
I'll
fine.
make the motion with those amendments.
Yes.
Second? Okay, great.
Let's get the procedure down. I don't want any legal issues. Let's go.
I think I think you have to vote on accepting what we wrote as an amendment, and then you have to come back and vote on the amendments that you talked and proffered on the floor, then vote on the whole amendment.
Yes, if the items that Ms. Soler read were moved as a friendly amendment,
Then we move on to the
then the amendment that the chair referred to, the mayor referred to, would be to adopt in concept what was discussed and to reduce it to specific writing for your reading on second reading for your next hearing.
Correct.
Correct.
Because you may or may not agree with the actual textual notes. They'll probably be what you think they are, but we want to do the vote separately so that when you see what we think you said in the next meeting, you'll be able to say, great.
Okay.
So the first motion would be a friendly motion to accept what Ms. Soler read.
Sorry, just one question.
Go for it.
For the special use permit, isn't it conditioned on the zoning change and the comp plan change?
Yes.
So,
And on the floor, and on the plans that they
Yes,
proffered.
this permit is conditioned on the adoption of the zoning
so wouldn't it
amendment,
be
which
more
is,
appropriate to take these two other resolutions? Oh,
No, you would want to do it with the special use conditioned on it, but it's still approved tonight. So you would want to take those conditions as part of the special use now. Do you
So
like the
did
motion what
you-
the attorney said?
did you move what Ms. Soler read?
Yes, we moved.
Good,
we
great,
moved
pass
it.
that one.
We got a second?
Second.
We got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So now we add on the additional, we
Yes.
add in the additional conditions that were included as part of this public meeting. Can I get a motion on that?
And you, yes, and you direct staff to reduce
And I
them to
direct staff to
writing
reduce into writing.
for the next meeting.
Correct. Can I get a motion on that? Can I get a second on that?
Okay.
Can I get a second on that? Someone?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now, gonna get,
Though there is a couple of other friendly amendments
Okay,
that we'd
go-
like
go
to
for it.
clarify.
yep,
And one is that in the special use permit itself, the following words be added as specified, be inserted after the words herein and. This is to clarify that the conditions of that Ms. Soler cited and that you've adopted conceptually prevail over any inconsistencies in these attached documents, like the design documents and everything like that. Because those attached documents are a requirement of the special use permit, but there are likely to be inadvertently some conflicts. And you know for sure what you want in the textual special use permit that Ms. Soler read and you adopted in concept. Those are in concrete, and they are to prevail if there is any conflict between them and one of the attached design documents or supporting documents. And the second part of that is insert the following at the end of the first paragraph. In the event of any conflict between terms and conditions specified in this permit text and any terms and conditions in exhibits A through H, the attached here too, and any terms and conditions in any other supporting document, the terms and conditions in this permit text shall prevail.
So moved with Mr. Attorney's recommendations.
moved,
Second.
second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Hearing none. Okay, now can we vote on the item?
Yes,
Okay.
now we'll let you vote on the item.
All right, it was already moved and seconded, right?
thought we were did.
Yeah,
Go to D.
it's already moved and seconded. The item is already moved and seconded? Correct? Am I right? The item,
Yeah.
the item D is already moved and seconded?
Yes.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Okay, Commissioner Luciano Suarez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Juan Blanes, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Gustavo Ceballos, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ivan Chavez Jr., how do you vote?
Yes.
And Mayor Eric Diaz-Padrón, how do you vote?
Yes. Thank you.
5-0.
There's no more items on the agenda. This meeting is
D.
adjourned. No, we just voted on D. We just voted on D.
Mayor, if I have one, it's not related to the meeting, but
Go for it.
I do want to announce publicly that we had the passing of one of our employees, Philippe Grouse, today. He fought cancer for a very long time. He was a highly valued member, and we'll hold his family in our hearts.
Let's make sure we send something to his family. There's no more items on this meeting. This meeting is adjourned.
Esta última fue la D.
Sí.